Unscripted moments indeed, right? Good evening, Patriots. Gary Franchi here, broadcasting live from the Next News Network studios just outside Chicago. You're watching the Raw feed where we deliver the news they don't want you to hear, the stories they try to bury, and the truth they desperately want to hide. So share the stream right now via text message to your friends and family. It's the only way to bypass big tech's algorithms. They're trying to silence voices like ours. We're streaming live to millions worldwide on YouTube, Rumble, and X, but that number needs to grow, because the information we're about to share is too important to suppress. And hit that like button while you're there, huh? It's day 92 of Trump back in the White House, and the D.C. swamp is freaking out like never before, and they should be. The border crisis basically over. The economy roaring back. The deep state getting dismantled piece by piece, and they can't stand it. Tonight's Raw feed is packed with explosive revelations. We're going to expose how Trump's border shutdown has delivered a staggering 99.99% decrease in illegal releases. Numbers the mainstream media refuses to report. We'll reveal how President Trump's economic policies are bringing billions in investment back to American shores, while his trade team secures deals at Trump speed. But that is just the beginning. We're diving into the shocking truth about the Maryland man deported to El Salvador. The MS-13 connections the media desperately hides while Democrats waste your tax dollars visiting him. We'll expose the radical left's disturbing new campaign targeting Tesla owners with violence and intimidation, and we'll pull back the curtain on the Democrat civil war that's tearing their party apart. Now, the one thing that sets the Raw feed apart from other news programs is our direct interaction with you, our viewers, live. We'll be reading your super chats and rumble rants between segments and featuring them on screen for the world to see, because your voice matters here. This is not a one-way conversation. And now we need to be straight with you. Bringing you this kind of unfiltered information and truth comes with risks. We're constantly under threat of demonetization, shadow banning, and outright censorship. So to keep the operation going, we need your support through donations. Links are in the description. There's a live shot of the White House right now in the heart of the swamp. I will be returning there later in the week. Now, remember, every contribution, no matter the size, helps us fight back against the establishment. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the Real News Revolution. Make sure you follow us on all platforms, YouTube, Rumble, and X, because when one platform tries to silence us, we will still be broadcasting on the others. And for our loyal viewers, have you checked out our merch shop yet? Head to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com for exclusive Next News swag and show the world where you get your real news from. And consider joining our YouTube channel membership. You'll get special acknowledgement in the chat, behind-the-scenes content, and access to our exclusive Discord where the conversation continues 24/7. And now we're about to get into Signal 2.0. Yes, Signalgate 2.0, and the Deep State's latest assault on Pentagon Reform Plus will reveal how the student loan free ride is finally ending. So buckle up, patriots, and don't click away. The Raw feed starts now. Remember, they don't want you to know what we're about to tell you, but you deserve the truth. And that's exactly what we deliver. So let's get started and welcome you to the show. Our Boyd is here, and Tony Ocean Breathe Salty. Sure, you is in the house. CME Gordy, Tarina Clark, Army Dog, Mark Holtkamp, Running Bear, Jeremy Olson, Ann Cowan, Jeremy Franklin, Pothead Kenny, Dave Wollenberg, Carrie Nauf, Parmis Dax, what's up? We've got Rastafaria in the house. What's up? Stephen Clark. Mrs. Pothead Kenny is here. Remember, when you sound off in the chat room, yeah, Joel is in Portugal. Erica's here too. Make sure you sound off from where you are watching from and what kind of device. Karen B is in the house, and Villain, how do you say that? Villain? Drops $5 in the Alex Jones was right jar. N3, the place to be. Like, share, subscribe, and join us on members only Discord. MAG Avengers Unite are there for you, my fellow patriots. Make sure you check it out. We've got Charles Lanier, Casey Weimer in Everett, Washington, Mr. Blackwood in Missouri. Jeremy says, I'm looking good. Yeah, I got a haircut. Yeah, baby. It's amazing what a couple haircuts will do, right? We got Christina, Hot Rod Mike in Golden, Colorado, Willow Raven in Illinois. We got Mark D. Speaking of Illinois, I should mention, I don't have a graphic ready But maybe I can get something for you later in the show. Tomorrow, we will have an earlier raw feed. We're getting really ambitious tomorrow. An earlier raw feed, and then I've got to jet out to Oak Brook, Illinois, to the Drake Hotel, and that is where we will be live streaming again. Yes, you got a 2-for-1 tomorrow, a live stream. Rod Blagojevich will be the keynote speaker, as well as George Papadopoulos and his wife, Simona Papadopoulos. They will be speaking. And did you hear about that drama that happened in Deerfield, Illinois? Yeah, not too far from where I'm sitting. There was a mother who confronted the school board there because her daughter and friends, I guess, were, they're only like, I don't know, 13 or 15 years old, were forced to disrobe in a bathroom with a student who believed that they were a female. You know the drill. So the mother spoke out, and she was making the rounds. We covered the story here, and now she's going to be speaking at the Oak Brook Drake tomorrow. It's going to be a great show, and it's going to be totally live, and you guys do not want to miss that. So make sure we're going to get everything set up and squared away. We're going to test some new technology too. Cross your fingers and see if we can get it all squared away. But I think it'll be better than the last Rod Blagojevich speech that we did from the Oak Brook Hotel. As you know, we were battling everyone else's cell phone feeds. This time we requested a dedicated internet connection, and we've got some nice 4K cameras we're going to bring in. So Brian and I have already done some testing, so we know the technology works theoretically. But we're going to do our best to bring you some really awesome content tomorrow night. You do not want to miss that, especially if you've never seen the former governor of Illinois, Rod Blagojevich, share his story. It is absolutely profound. So he'll be sharing that and probably some new updates. And then, of course, George Papadopoulos, who was one of the targets in the Russiagate scandal. He was imprisoned because he supposedly lied to the FBI, another target, deep state target. He's going to tell his story. His wife, Simona, also, she is a journalist and a film producer. She's going to be sharing her story, all the work that she's doing as well. They're also on Tucker Carlson's new show, All the President's Men. I mean, that couple, George and Simona Papadopoulos, they are straight up out of 007. I mean, the trailer, if you haven't seen the trailer for All the President's Men for that episode, I mean, you got George in like an Aston Martin in a tuxedo, and Simona looks like a Bond woman. I mean, she's just a bombshell. Super cool. So they're going to be there. Angie will be joining me as well. So we'll be behind the camera. You might get a peek at us. I'm sure we'll pop in for a moment, but I hope to see you guys there tomorrow night. So want to make sure you guys are aware. And especially if you're in the Chicago area, you need to come out. I think the tickets are only like $30. It's well worth your time. But if you can't make it, just make sure you check out the Next News Network, and we will be streaming it live. Okay, I think I've given enough information here. Karen's like, woohoo! Gary's upgrading the technology. Yeah, in fact, I had Tom was in studio today, and we were measuring out the room and the space to figure out how we can put another desk, a new desk, and more cameras, so we can bring in more live guests and do more multi-camera interactive podcasting for you guys. So this is all stuff we've been working on for several months. And then, of course, I'll be back in Washington, D.C. I'll be leaving on Sunday. And if you want the behind-the-scenes stuff, what goes on there in the swamp on my travel there, make sure you become a member to the channel. Okay, let's get into our first topic of the evening, because we are on the clock right now, and time waits for no one, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we're witnessing something historic. The mainstream media wants you to believe it's business as usual in Washington, but the numbers tell a different story. In just 92 days, the Trump administration has engineered what can only be described as a complete transformation of our southern border and our economic landscape. While the establishment media drowns us in distractions, another celebrity scandal, another manufactured outrage, the true revolution is happening right under your nose. Border crossings haven't just collapsed, they have declined dramatically. And of course, American manufacturing isn't just recovering, it's exploding. And the deep state, well, they're absolutely panicking. And there's a reason they don't want you watching this broadcast, so don't go anywhere. Noble Gold Investments, that's right, gold has surged 46% in less than a year, doubling the gains of the NASDAQ and S&P 500. But this is not just another rally. Gold reserves are shifting, exposing cracks in the monetary system. Investors are losing confidence in paper gold and demanding physical metal, creating a massive gap between gold owed and gold available. But this isn't just about how institutions broke another system, it's about how you can profit from it. Right now, Noble Gold Investments has a limited supply of investment-grade gold bars and coins available. As banks scramble to fulfill their obligations, pushing gold prices higher, you can profit. Smart investors are already moving into physical gold. Noble Gold Investments makes it easy for you to do the same. Visit nextnewsgold.com. It's linked down below, or call that number 877-646-5347 and tell them Gary Franchi sent you. Yes, it is time to dive into what they don't want you to know. Border crossing. Border crisis. What crisis? The border crossings have plummeted to the lowest in history. Wall Street Journal reports illegal entries grinding to a halt thanks to President Trump's tough policies. The days of catch and release are over. Let's check in with the press secretary earlier today.
Quote, "At the border, President Trump continues to deliver on his promise to make America safe again." The Wall Street Journal captured the Trump effect in a recent article. Border crossings grind to a halt as Trump's tough policies take hold. U.S. Customs and Border Protection recorded its lowest southwest border crossings in history in March, and we're seeing the same successes at our northern border. Here's how the New York Post put it. Northern border sector previously overrun by illegal migrants sees dramatic drop in crossings. We haven't seen anyone since November, end quote. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, just 54 illegal aliens were apprehended in the Swanton sector of our northern border, which stretches more than 300 miles in March. This is a drastic 95% drop from the more than 1,000 border crossings that were caught in March 2024. This is a main hotspot area that recorded more than 80% of all apprehensions along the northern border during the 2024 fiscal year. And new reporting from the Washington Times fully highlights the difference in Joe Biden's disgraceful approach to the border compared to President Trump's. Under Trump, border catch and release has dropped 99.99% from worst Biden month. You can't get much better than that. This statistic in particular is astounding. Border Patrol agents caught and immediately released 189,604 illegal aliens into the United States in December 2023 at the height of the Biden border crisis. But under President Trump, Border Patrol agents caught and released only 20 illegal aliens into the U.S. in the month of February. Thanks to President Trump, operational control of the border is becoming a reality, and the administration's historic enforcement measures are yielding huge results. Illegal aliens are finally getting the blunt message. If you cross the border illegally, you will be swiftly deported and never return to the United States of America. Efforts to arrest the criminal illegal alien invaders are continuing to ramp up. ICE Chicago arrested a Mexican national convicted of predatory sexual assault of a child in Cook County, Illinois. This week, ICE Denver arrested a Mexican national convicted of sexual assault of a child in Houston County, Texas. ICE Miami arrested a Nicaraguan convicted of aggravated battery in Hillsborough County, Florida. ICE Houston arrested a Salvadorian national convicted of attempted sexual assault of a child in escape in Dallas County, Texas. And ICE Chicago arrested a Mexican national convicted of aggravated sexual abuse of a minor in Illinois. Despite the Democrats' insane objections, President Trump will continue to embolden law enforcement officers to arrest dangerous legal alien criminals and keep our communities safe.
Of course, the media will just call them a Chicago man, a Florida man, right? Yeah, that's how the media spins it. But President Trump, he shows true leadership. He ordered all flags at half-staff for Pope Francis and will be attending the funeral in Rome. Even in times of mourning, Trump puts respect and dignity first, while the fake news ignores his compassion and actions. Let's check back in with the press secretary.
Flags be. The thoughts and prayers of the entire White House remain with all of the Catholics around the world who are mourning the death of Pope Francis. Pope Francis touched millions of lives and dedicated his life to serving the Catholic Church. As a mark of respect for his memory, President Trump ordered flags be flown at half-staff, and he will be traveling to attend his funeral in Rome. The president will depart from Washington on Friday morning and return to the United States on Saturday evening following the funeral service.
Oh, wow. So he's leaving on Friday to go to the funeral, returning Saturday night. I will be flying into Washington on Sunday afternoon. I was hoping to catch Marine One as it touched down at the White House. I guess that's not going to happen since he will have already returned. But the next week ahead, when I'm back in D.C., is going to be exciting, no doubt, because next week, Wednesday, marks 100 days of the president's triumphant return to the White House. Now, if you don't know, America is open for business again. Swiss Pharmaceuticals investing $50 billion, creating 12,000 new jobs. Regeneron committing $3 billion to manufacturing medicines in America. Of course, this is what America First economic policy looks like. Let's check back in with the press secretary.
Thanks to President Trump's America First economic approach, investments continue to pour into our country. Swiss Pharmaceuticals company announced they will be investing $50 billion in the United States over the next 5 years, creating 12,000 new quality jobs. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals also agreed to pay Fujifilm Technologies more than $3 billion over the next decade to help manufacture its medicines in the United States. It's a top priority for President Trump to ensure we are producing critical medicines and
I didn't know Fujifilm was making drugs now. Okay.
Pharmaceutical drugs right here in America, and that is exactly what we continue to see happen every day. Thanks to
Operation Take Back America in full swing. The Department of Justice is charging hundreds of defendants with federal immigration crimes. Drug traffickers, human smugglers, and repeat offenders are feeling the heat of law and order. Let's check in with the Department of Justice today.
Including the six. Since President Trump took office, the Department of Justice has been all in on Operation Take Back America, a mission to stop illegal immigration, dismantle cartels, and protect our communities from violent crime.
I mean, he looks really serious, though, doesn't he? I'm sorry. My first impression, he's like, listen to me, I'm from the Department of Justice. But, I mean, of course, he's talking about serious stuff. Okay, I kid. Sorry.
Since President Trump took office, the Department of Justice has been all in on Operation Take Back America, a mission to stop illegal immigration, dismantle cartels, and protect our communities from violent crime. Week after week, U.S. attorneys across this country, including the 6 border districts, have charged hundreds of defendants with federal immigration crimes. These aren't minor cases. They involve drug traffickers, human smugglers, repeat offenders, and individuals with felony records. This is what law and order looks like in action. To our U.S. attorneys and law enforcement partners, thank you. Your work is saving lives and making America safer every day, and we're proud to stand with you. Under President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi, this Justice Department will never back down. We will take back America, one case at a time.
Okay, that was a little bit over dramatic, but I get it, you know. President Trump signs a game-changing executive order to slash drug prices. Americans will pay the same prices hospitals pay. No more price gouging by Big Pharma and their middleman cronies. The days of $700 insulin are over.
Pay for drugs. He also President Trump signing an executive order to significantly reduce drug prices, bringing transparency and competition to prescription drug markets, putting American patients first. The president ordering the Medicare drug pricing negotiation program to increase savings while saying patients should pay the same price that hospitals pay for drugs. He also is promising to provide massive discounts to low-income patients for life-saving medications. Joining me now is National Institutes of Health Director, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. Director, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us exactly what the president wants to do and what you see as the impact this year.
So it's an all-of-the-above approach, emphasizing market competition, so to bring competition into the market much more easily to existing drugs, to use the power that Medicare has over negotiations with to reduce the price that so that Medicare pays the same price that hospitals get for drugs, cutting drug prices by a substantial amount. Also to get drugs, the essential medicines like insulin and epinephrine in the hands of low-income patients at pennies on the dollar. It's a really important advance to make sure that Americans have access to drugs at a affordable price, and I really applaud President Trump for doing this. It's a big step forward.
But Dr.
At the White House Easter egg roll, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had the longest line of people wanting pictures. Why? Because military recruitment is at the highest level in 28 years. Let's check in with Natalie Winters at the White House.
Winters, Natalie, how was your egg roll today, ma'am?
Well, like I said earlier this morning, it was fantastic because there were no transgenders taking their shirts off, and we actually celebrated Easter and not Transgender Day of Remembrance, whatever the heck that is. But certainly a hat tip to the White House, just a wonderfully executed event. And I'll say this, Steve, I know we hear that everybody hates Pete Hegseth and that, oh, everyone doesn't have any confidence in him. Of all the administration officials that I saw earlier this morning walking around, he had the longest line of people, even kids, wanting to get pictures with him, wanting to meet him, and you could just see, which I think is reflected in the fact that we have, the highest recruitment in 28 years, morale is up, physical fitness is up, people like him, and despite the legacy media's best efforts, he's popular.
No, Natalie, you've seen, I want to get to this, you wrote an amazing op-ed piece over in the Daily Caller. I want everybody to see it, and if Grace and Mo, and make sure we want to push this out hard. Before I get to that, I do want to stick on this Pete Hegseth for a second because it's the deep state. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Marco Rubio is getting lit up over the weekend over the State Department. Why? Secretary of State Rubio has come up with a plan that President Trump signed off on to basically start to deconstruct the State Department and take down to kind of statutory limits like Carrie Lake's doing over VOA. They so hate it, they did the old thing. They went back to an EO that was kind of in draft form a while ago, and they leaked it to the New York Times. Lead story all day. Marco Rubio and Donald Trump destroy State Department. Pete Hegseth destroying the, their watchword there is it's out of control. It's spinning out of control. Chaos in the Pentagon. Derek Harvey shows up for onboarding, just the meeting, the preliminary meeting to onboard this morning. CBS News, Jennifer Jacobs, who's a great reporter, White House correspondent, used to be White House lead correspondent for Bloomberg. She's got the scoop, the exclusive that literally the NSC had dictated to her about Derek Harvey. And then the whole city is, in the intelligence meeting, oh my God. And the headline is MAGA-friendly intelligence officer goes in to rebuild the NSC with MAGA-friendly types. They have thrown down so hard, Natalie, on stopping Trump at every aspect. The deep state is coming after him, are they not, ma'am?
Well, I think if there's anything we've learned from every single battle against congressional Republicans and CRs, whenever you hear them attacking you as spreading or fomenting chaos, right, the C word, that's something they love to hurl, not only do you know that it's probably an op coined by elites, they're trying to make us scared of something that we really shouldn't be scared of, but more importantly, the chaos is welcomed chaos. It's joyful chaos. It's the destruction of the military industrial complex and the strengthening of our military with patriotic values and not DEI. We can get into, I think, the context, who's attacking Pete Hegseth after the break. But anytime you hear chaos, you should know these are the same people who want unity after President Trump was shot. I'll take chaos.
Amen to that, man. Amen to that. It's controlled chaos that President Trump is certainly in control of, but they want to paint the picture like it's madness and everything's out of sorts. But that's just the sound of the deep state dying. Those headlines are the screams of the media grasping for the last oxygen in the room as their allies inside the swamp slowly drown. So don't read too much into it other than that. Now, President Trump, moving at unprecedented speed to fulfill his promises, he's not continuing first-term policies. He's doing those things he always wanted to do that the deep state blocked. Unfinished business. Let's check in with the roundtable at CNN, shall we?
Normally presidents have one thing that they're able to do in their first year, because we go into the midterms, you're not going to get anything done then. For Barack Obama, it was Obamacare or the health care. For Donald Trump in his first term, it was, in those first years, it was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Donald Trump, this time around, and I do agree with Alyssa, Donald Trump, it really is a lot of unfinished business. He felt as if he was not allowed to have a second term, and Donald Trump is doing not just a lot of things continuing what he did in the first term, it is those things that he always wanted to do, that many people in the Republican Party always wanted to do, and I don't think that the pace is going to lessen in any way. Donald Trump is going to keep barreling forward, and I think the important thing for him is that he wants to get as much done in as little time possible. Even though it doesn't typically work that way, Donald Trump is going to keep this pace. Normally presidents have...
And we keep going because the new NIH director, Dr. Bhattacharya, now vowing to establish a culture of respect for free speech and scientific dissent. Remember? Dr. Fauci is science. He is science. Thou shalt not question Lord Fauci. Free speech for scientific dissent? That's what science is all about, asking questions. After years of Biden censorship, no more silencing scientists who disagree with the establishment narrative. Truth is finally making a comeback. So, YouTube, you better update your terms of service.
Numbers of science.
This is a really important order because people are getting killed by these prices. And I know during your Senate testimony, you vowed to establish a culture of respect for free speech and scientific dissent. You promised to vigorously regulate risky research that has the possibility of causing a pandemic. What can you tell us about that and your priorities now at the agency?
Maria, that is really important to me. The idea that we can have a culture where authority determines what's true and false in science is the very antithesis of science. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, the Biden administration used its power to essentially silence and suppress the voices of countless numbers of scientists who, on social media and other settings. I want to change that, and President Trump wants to change that. Secretary Kennedy wants to change that. What has to happen is that if there are dissenting scientific views, people who disagree with me, they should have the say. And we should be encouraging a culture where scientists can talk to each other without fear of reprisals, without fear of suppression, and without fear of censorship. That is going to be a major priority of mine to use the sort of the influence of the NIH to make that happen. Thank you.
But by the way, there's also a China element here, right? They've been stealing our intellectual property on science.
They have, actually, and that's another major advance I think we'll see in coming days. A lot of the investments that we've made in through the NIH have correctly involved international cooperation with ally nations and others. But given the geopolitical situation, we're going to have to take a close look to make sure that the intellectual property that the NIH develops really benefits Americans most.
That's right. That's a great point. Dr. Bhattacharya, I hope you'll come back soon. We need more time to dig further into this. We so appreciate your time and your leadership here, sir. Thank you. This is a really important order because people are getting killed by these prices. And I know during your Senate testimony, you vowed to establish...
Moving right along. Yes, patriots, this is only the beginning of what President Trump is accomplishing for America. While the deep state and the fake news fight him at every turn, he delivers results that improve your life. This administration is about promises made and promises kept. Make sure, if you're not following us yet on X, you need to do so, because we will soon be at the White House yet again. No, there we are. That's the White House. That's where I will be very soon. And you need to keep up to date with the latest that happens. So the numbers are undeniable, patriots, from the border to the economy. The Trump administration is delivering results the mainstream media refuses to acknowledge. In just 3 months, we've seen illegal entries collapse by 99.9%, billions in new investments, and a military that's standing tall again. Why does this matter? Well, because it's not just about policy. It's about reclaiming America's sovereignty and self-determination after years of deliberate erosion. So here's the question they don't want you asking. And you can, of course, weigh in the comments. If Trump can accomplish this much in 92 days despite relentless opposition, what could he achieve with 4 full years and your support? Think about that. Type your answers in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. It is linked in the description for exclusive Next News Network gear. Show the world where you get your real news. Boom, topic 1 in the can. We got $5, baby. $5 in the super chat from Villain. That was 27 minutes ago. Who's going to be the next one to receive Gary Franchi's acknowledgement? Will it be you? And I'm sending a message to Todrick. Check your text messages. I sent you something that needs to be placed somewhere. Mr. Todd. Toddy. Okay. Yeah, normally what? Okay. Yeah. What? Anyway, I heard something. I'm hearing voices. Okay. Let's go to our next topic of the evening. Where are we going with this one? Of course. Of course. All right. Let's go. And I saw somebody in the chat earlier. I popped them up on the screen. Somebody here for the first time. A longtime subscriber and a first-time chatter. How cool is that? Jeremy wants to get G to trying to get Gary to do the Trump dance. Let's get super chats up to 400. All right, Jeremy. You got it. Trump dance coming your way. What if everything you've been told about the Maryland man deportation story was a carefully crafted lie? For weeks, the mainstream media has paraded images of a supposedly innocent family man torn from his community. But leaked documents and photographs paint a much darker picture. One that CNN and MSNBC refused to show you. In fact, going so far as to cut off the President of the United States in the Oval Office mid-speech to fact-check him. Well, tonight we're going to reveal what those Democrat lawmakers who flew to El Salvador know but won't admit publicly. We have exclusive information about who this man really is, his dangerous connections, and why powerful forces are working overtime to hide the truth. George Floyd 2.0 is what they're calling it. But this is the establishment doesn't want this story told. That's exactly why you need to hear it. While the media tries to hide the truth about gang connections, Americans are facing their own battle against aging skin. The fingerprints of time are something we all deal with. A groundbreaking 2024 study shows that daily collagen supplementation delivers dramatic results for skin health. Fewer wrinkles, firmer texture, better hydration, but not all collagen is created equal. This scientifically backed multi-collagen formula contains 5 key types from 4 different sources, critical for reducing visible aging signs. It's helping thousands look years younger while supporting American values. Take control of your appearance just like we're taking control of the border. Visit healthwithgary.com, link below, for 51% off today. Okay, so this Maryland man, he was deported to El Salvador. He's not an innocent victim that the mainstream media would have you believe. Of course, he is deeply connected to MS-13. So what is being said here? The so-called Maryland father, he's got MS-13 gang tattoos on his hands, wears their paraphernalia. Not one but 2 immigration judges confirmed his gang ties before deportation. The elite media keeps calling him the Maryland man just to hide the truth. Check out this clip.
An immigrant who said not only is he a member of MS-13, he gave them the clique, the Westerns, and he was called a Chicao, which is one of the higher ranking MS-13 members. So they rightfully detained him, rightfully. An immigration judge agreed. An appellate immigration judge agreed. Now here's where it gets even more frightening. In 2021, his girlfriend previously, his wife at the time, who he had married in jail after he'd gotten numerous tickets, didn't show up for court. He marries her in jail. She has a baby with him. And as a career domestic violence prosecutor, too, I know it takes a lot for any woman to come into court and say they're a victim of domestic violence. This woman came into court twice, getting a restraining order against him, saying it's horrific. He had beaten her. He had punched her in the eye. He had ripped her clothes off. What causes a young mother to do this? Her child was with her.
Cuck Todd sits there quietly. This MS-13 member was caught in a gang sweep during a murder investigation, later pulled over on suspicion of human trafficking. While the left cries about rights for foreign criminals, who's protecting your rights as American citizens?
Well, Jessica keeps on saying there's all these mistakes. First, she said this guy was picked up because he had a Bulls hat. And then he has tattoos on his hand that spell MS-13.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Read the symbolism, Jessica. What are you, a gang detective? Cut it out.
I just
and then he's
read.
wearing paraphernalia that says the slogan for MS-13. And then he gets caught up in a gang sweep with ranking members of MS-13 as part of a murder investigation. Then gets pulled over and he's suspected of human trafficking. Then gets accused of slugging his wife twice, and she has it on video. And suddenly his name isn't Maryland Dad, it's due process. You transitioned pretty quickly, Jessica. And to say this administration never admits a mistake, you guys never admitted you opened the border for 4 years.
Yes, we did.
Come on. You're saying this guy
That border was tied.
You're saying this guy's afraid to go home? Because that's funny. In 2019, when he was popped, he said he wasn't afraid to go home, Jessica. Yeah. Funny that you're into due process now, after bringing us the Me Too movement, cancel culture, and the Trump trials. You can't break into the country and ignore the process of coming here and then want a process to leave. You cannot cut the line to come here and then ask to be put in a line to go home.
Jesse Waters on fire there for sure. And to be clear, MS-13 has been designated a terrorist organization by the federal government. And therefore, due to national security reasons, they have the ability to deport anyone with that affiliation without having to go through the traditional process, especially if they are an illegal alien. That's the law. President Trump was talking about obeying the law when discussing deportation, something the fake news won't tell you. Meanwhile, Democrats push their fever dream, Handmaid's Tale vision to scare citizens. This fear-mongering has failed before, and it will fail again.
I challenged him, by the way, on the idea that President Trump wanted to deport homegrown citizens. Here is the clip referenced by Maxwell Frost from the Oval Office of President Trump talking about homegrown criminals.
I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country.
And he goes on right after that to say, but we have to obey the law. It will.
Yeah, see, I was asked about this question, about this statement by President Trump, and he says they're looking into it. That's all he can do. That's what he would love to see, people who are pushing old ladies in front of subways thrown out of the country. I mean, I would like to see them, a step further. Capital punishment with, not sitting in a cushy jail cell for 20 years either on the taxpayer dime. No. So while the media is going to sit here and scream and yell about, oh my goodness, President Trump wants to throw everyday citizens in prison, it's not going to happen. Sure, he'd love to do it. He understands there's laws. He knows it's not possible. It's just rhetoric. It will never happen. But, the media will take that soundbite and run with it for a week. Yeah, I got text messages about it. How should I? Gary, what do you think about this? Well, what did he say? Let me look into it. Well, sounds like heated rhetoric to me. It'll never happen. But, of course, these are the sound bites that people grab onto. They'd rather hypothesize about President Trump breaking the law than actually applying the law to people who are pushing grandma in front of subways. Think about that, right? That's the logic. Let's see what this guy has to say on his final message.
Always be to obey the law. After years of very fine people, among other hoaxes, I'm suspicious of any Democrat quoting President Trump in full context. And I make no apologies, none, on not being able to know or recall that specific clip, because it doesn't reinforce my fever dream Handmaid's Tale vision of America, where Lily, who reads The Bulwark on the Upper West Side, is about to be deported right after Kilmar Abrego Garcia. President Donald Trump was clearly talking about obeying the law. I'm doubtful the law would allow him to deport homegrown criminals. But it's a far cry again from the Handmaid's Tale vision of the next after Abrego Garcia is you. I challenge.
Exactly. Democrats are screaming about due process while a man was disappeared to a foreign country. But what about the truth? He's a citizen of El Salvador with a deportation order. The left can't even keep their lies straight. Scott Jennings deserves a raise for this one. Let's check it out.
Country, a president and this administration can accuse somebody of being a terrorist and accuse any one of us of being a terrorist and do with us what they will. There's due process that exists in this country for everybody. And the fact that this man had received no due process, he was effectively disappeared to a foreign country, a country which he came from, which he was basically he got asylum.
It's not a foreign country. He lives there.
Excuse me, no, he does not live there.
He's a citizen of El Salvador.
Scott, excuse me, he got asylum in this country.
He's a citizen.
Scott,
does he have asylum?
Excuse me, let me finish.
No, he doesn't.
No, it's not that he,
okay.
Sorry, it's not that he got asylum. He got a judge to say that he could not be.
Does he have a deportation order?
Excuse me, he could not be. Can you let me finish? He could not be rendered back to El Salvador because he was at risk of being harmed in El Salvador. That is what a federal judge. That is what a federal judge.
By who? No, who was he at risk of?
Excuse me, that was what a federal judge said. He could not be deported. He could not be. Who could he be at risk by? I don't know. But
a rival gang.
No. Excuse me, Scott. Excuse me, stop. President and this administration.
A rival gang, right? Let's look at the frightening pattern now. A man illegally in the U.S. was charged with murder after authorities found his victim wrapped in a blanket and buried about 5 feet below ground, yet the left wants to protect criminals like this. Why? Why do they continue to protect criminals? I just don't understand.
Seal the hole. Now, this is the father of her children, Casey Barrera Rosa. He's charged with murder, and he's currently in ISIS custody. And we also have this mugshot of his uncle. Authorities charge Rolvin Barrera with being an accessory to the crime. A spokesperson for the Charles County Sheriff's Office says the suspect was methodical in hiding this woman's body, burying her deep, and using old dirt to conceal the hole.
Upon discovering her body, which was wrapped in a blanket and again buried about 5 feet below the ground, it was a moment of relief for the detectives that they were able to tell her family, we have found her.
So when we first reported this, authorities told us that they found fraudulent immigration documents for Barrera Rosa and confirmed he was in the U.S. illegally.
There you go. Another example. And Senator Van Hollen, he's the star of our show. He was played by El Salvador. They wanted to meet by the pool to make it look like Garcia was in paradise. The establishment is more concerned with photo ops than the safety of American communities. Let's take a look at how ABC This Week framed it.
At some point, did you walk into a trap, though? I mean, they bring him to your hotel. He's in the civilian clothes, and you met with him. We saw the images. You put out the picture of meeting with him, the beginning of the meeting. You're sitting there, you're drinking water and talking to the guy in the hotel lobby, I assume. And then at some point they bring in these glasses that look like margarita glasses?
No, it wasn't a trap. My goal was to meet with him.
Yeah.
And make sure I could tell his wife and family he was okay. That was my goal. And I achieved that goal. You're absolutely right that the Salvadorian authorities tried to deceive people. They tried to make it look like he was in paradise. They actually wanted to have the meeting by the hotel pool originally.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had to negotiate that. They wanted to put me right overlooking the pool. In fact, if you had a different angle on the camera shot, you would see the pool.
Because they did write, Bukele put out a statement saying, miraculously risen from the death camps and torture and sipping margaritas with you. Yeah. I mean, they were really trying to make you look like you were hanging out with somebody that they say is a gang member.
Yeah, it was quite a scene, wasn't it? And of course, the Democrat Party, completely deranged. They're looking around trying to find the weirdest, strangest things they can before. This is what Trump derangement syndrome looks like. They'll jump off a cliff and look like idiots. Let's listen to what Newt Gingrich has to say about the Maryland dad.
Sports. I have never seen the Democratic Party this deranged. I mean, if you watch them, it's like they're looking around trying to find the weirdest, strangest things they can be for. And they're out there, I mean, give me a chance to be for males playing in girls' sports. Give me a chance to be for the most radical possible position on illegal immigration. Give me a chance to go out there and stand firmly for a whole series of ideas that nobody else in America wants. I mean, this is really remarkable, and it's almost like the party has lost its head.
Are they doing this because Trump is deporting this guy? I mean, if any other president were getting rid of guys like this, they probably wouldn't say anything. They definitely wouldn't be going to have margaritas in El Salvador with them. Is it just Trump derangement syndrome here?
I mean, part of it, to be fair, is that President Trump is probably the best modern politician at getting his opponents totally screwed up. He has some knack. I don't know how he does it, but he just intuits. If I do X, you're going to jump off the cliff and look like an idiot. So every morning he gets up and he thinks, oh, gee, I think I'll tweet something that guarantees they'll be crazy. And I would say 4 times out of 5, it works. And they go and do things, I mean, totally stupid. And they don't seem to get it. I mean, this is worse than Lucy with the football and peanuts. Remember, she used to always pull the football at the last minute? I mean, this is embarrassingly bad, and they don't seem to be able to get a grip on themselves. In fact, I suspect they get in a room, all the big donors, a lot of alcohol, hanging out, and they go, God, Van Hollen, you're so good. You're so courageous. We're so glad you're going out there making a fool of yourself. I can't figure out any other sociological explanation of this level of insanity.
Maybe they...
The media obsessively calls him the Maryland man over and over. They're trying to manipulate you. But as one brave voice pointed out, he's not a Maryland man. He's not a Maryland anything. He's an illegal alien with deportation orders, truth bombs inbound. Uh-oh.
Man that was a Maryland man thought to be wrongly deported.
Deported Maryland man Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
Of a Maryland man wrongfully deported.
A Maryland man who was mistakenly deported.
The Maryland man, that was detained.
The Maryland man mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador.
They're not even trying to bring back a Maryland man.
He's a Maryland man.
Maryland man. The Maryland man.
Maryland man.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man. The Maryland man. Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
The Maryland man they shipped to El Salvador.
The Maryland man who was sent to El Salvador.
This man from Maryland.
A Maryland man, the case of a Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
Maryland man.
Maryland man.
Maryland man.
That Maryland man.
The case of the Maryland man.
Maryland man.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that's a Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
This Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
He had no intent of returning the Maryland man.
A wrongly deported man, Maryland man, I should say.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland father.
Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, that's the Maryland father.
Maryland father who had been deported.
There's this young man from Maryland, a father.
A Maryland father who came here at age 16.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Maryland father.
Maryland father.
Maryland father.
Mistakenly deported father. The Maryland father mistakenly deported.
The Maryland father who was wrongfully deported. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland father from Maryland.
Maryland father.
This Maryland father who was wrongly deported.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland dad.
The Maryland father mistakenly deported.
The Maryland father.
He is not a Maryland man. He is not a Maryland anything. He is an illegal alien from El Salvador with a deportation order from the United States.
Clearly, the Mockingbird media got their talking points, and they are running with it. And the Democrats claim that President Bukele of El Salvador is a dictator, while they work to undermine America's legal immigration system. Representative Ratskin threatens foreign leaders who don't bow to the globalist agenda.
Store strong. But look, President Bukele, who's declared himself a dictator, and the other tyrants, dictators, autocrats of the world have to understand that the Trump administration is not going to last forever. We're going to restore strong democracy to America, and we will remember who stood up for democracy in America and who tried to drive us down towards dictatorship and autocracy. So I'm glad that Chris Van Hollen showed exactly where America is, and we're not afraid of any dictator anywhere.
House Democrats descending on El Salvador like some kind of rescue mission, a political stunt using your tax dollars. Here's Congressman Garcia claiming the Supreme Court ordered his return, but they're deliberately misrepresenting the truth.
Kilmar Garcia. Hey, it's Congressman Garcia. I am here in El Salvador with a group of House Democrats advocating for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and, of course, checking in on so many folks who have been sent here without due process. The Supreme Court has ordered unanimously that Kilmar Garcia should come back home to the United States. We also know that he was sent here wrongfully. The Trump administration admitted that. We have met now with the U.S. Embassy here, the ambassador. We're meeting with advocates on the ground who are organizing here in El Salvador. We've talked to Abrego Garcia's family, which is heartbreaking. And more importantly, we're here to raise awareness that Kilmar needs to come home. We need to build support here in El Salvador, but also in the United States. He must come home. And I'll say this lastly.
He must come home. Hey, buddy, newsflash, he is home. Unreal. Well, Democrat Congresswoman Yasmin 4AZ falsely claims that he is just a father, a husband, a union member. The facts tell a different story, and she deliberately omits the facts.
He is a father,
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari. I represent Phoenix, Arizona. I am here with my colleagues to demand that Donald Trump facilitate the safe return home for Mr. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The facts of this case are abundantly clear. Mr. Garcia was abducted. He is a father. He is a husband. He's a union member. His union leadership is advocating for him through the building trade, saying that he needs to come home. And he was wrongly deported here to a foreign prison in El Salvador.
Okay, go make me a sandwich. The Republicans have called out the Democrats with their own offer. Will pay for more House Democrats to go to El Salvador with one condition: cameras at every step.
Republicans believe. I saw that the Republicans' campaign arm today offered to pay for more House Democrats to go to El Salvador, with the one condition being that there be cameras at every step. So I think we see who at least the Republicans believe has a political high ground here. That would be their own party. And this is a very strange and, in my mind, politically risky choice that the Democrats are making, because they have created this poster child who is an illegal immigrant, who's an accused wife beater, who's a twice adjudicated gang member. And they can talk about the rule of law, fine. I think they might have a point somewhat, but the optics of who they're celebrating and championing are terrible for them, the more we learn about him. And on the rule of law point, with all due respect, this is a party that presided over a 4-year catastrophe at the southern border, mass-scale lawlessness that we've never seen before, and now they're going to pretend to be sticklers about the rule of law. I think that's also a very tough sell.
Yeah, no one's buying it either. Patriots, this is bigger than one deportation case. This is about whether America remains America, our sovereignty, our safety, our freedom to determine who enters our nation. The establishment will rather champion MS-13 than stand with you. Make sure you follow Next News Network on X to get direct access to these threads and more. So there you have it, the Maryland man. The narrative completely shattered. A man with MS-13 connections caught during a murder investigation and suspected of human trafficking, transformed by the media into some kind of an innocent victim. And Democrat lawmakers using your tax money to fly down for propaganda photo shoots by the pool. This matters because it shows just how far they will go to manipulate the truth when it comes to immigration and border security. So here is the question. If they're willing to lie about who this man really is, what else are they hiding from you about the border crisis? What other criminals are they portraying as victims? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And are you looking for ways to support real journalism? Well, you can now by visiting shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and grab some exclusive Next News merch. Limited quantities are available, but you have to be a patriot. That is the only condition. Okay, checking in on the super chats. Tony dropping 5. What's up? Thank you. Hope this helps. Be safe in D.C. And thank you. And Miss Pothead Kenny. And love you, Gary. Bless you and your family. Love and 3. I was going to say, this almost covers the Uber to get to and from the hotel. But I'm staying closer to the White House this time, so Uber shouldn't be an issue. I will be walking to the White House every day. Yeah, getting my steps in, even though I don't believe in that crap. Okay, let's go. I still work out, but it's not about getting steps in. I don't do that. Like, what do people do? I got to get steps in. Why? I got to get my steps in this week. Okay. We got some more. Let's go. Okay, we got some more news here. Checking in with our producers. Todd, I sent you a link. I need to know which topic it went in, so if you could please respond to the text message, that would be great. Maya says, watch your back in D.C. Overeducated. You rock. Thank you. She's married to the Muffin Man. The Muffin Man. The Muffin Man? What? I can't wait for my Mag Avengers gear rocking for the 4th of July. You like that? Yeah, we made that logo for you guys. Yeah, no one else has that. Maybe someone ripped it off, I'm sure. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. I know you wish you could give more, but every dollar helps. Okay. We got more news to get into. Remember when electric vehicles were the darlings of the environmental movement? Remember when Tesla owners were celebrated as climate heroes? Well, something shocking has changed. And the mainstream media is working overtime to keep it from you. That's right, reports you've heard across the country, Tesla owners facing targeted harassment, vandalism, even outright violence. But who is really behind the attacks? And why has the political left suddenly turned against the very electric vehicles they once championed? Well, tonight we have obtained exclusive footage, first-hand accounts from victims that reveal a disturbing pattern, one that points to a politically motivated campaign that goes far beyond simple vandalism. And just like Tesla owners are being targeted with pain and suffering, many Americans face their own daily battle with chronic discomfort. If you're feeling the weight of age in your joints and muscles, there is something that you need to know. Now, most people think all turmeric is created equal, but they are wrong. A pioneering pain doctor has discovered a turmeric extract that's 200 times more powerful than standard supplements, addressing inflammation at its source. While the radical left attacks innovation on our streets, this is breakthrough innovating pain relief in your body. It's turning off pain like a light switch. See the revolutionary science at goldenrevive.com/NNN, linked in the description. So the radical left continues their terror campaign against Tesla owners, a disturbing new wave of politically motivated violence. You've seen the pictures, you've seen the video. Now, does the left really realize, they realize that they're more likely to own EVs than conservatives? By vandalizing Tesla vehicles to protest Elon Musk, they're mainly targeting the cars of fellow Democrats. You can't fix stupid. Let's check out what Dinesh posted here.
Pew Research study revealed that over 56% of left-leaning Americans were at least somewhat open to purchasing an EV, electric vehicle, compared to only 20% of right-leaning Americans. That means that the intended victims of these vandals with Teslas are themselves more likely to be a fellow Democrat voter more than anything else. They're Democrats going after other Democrats. Leftists are senselessly attacking their fellow leftists in order to score lefty cred. So not only are these vandals putting themselves in a position of committing vandalism, potentially facing jail time and other punishment, they're also aggressively driving their own voters from the Democrat Party. Typically, political action is taken to win people over to your side as opposed to repelling them. Picking losing fights with people in your own party is quite conceivably the dumbest thing you could elect to do. Yet these vandals themselves might as well be wearing wet towels on their heads to protect themselves from heat rays, like the mythical panic-stricken listeners of War of the Worlds in 1938.
Yeah, that's about right, huh? Now, we're going to continue here, diving deeper. The hands-off protesters swarming across Pennsylvania, claiming to protect Social Security and health care while actually pushing a radical agenda against Trump. They claim to be concerned about democracy, but they're attacking Americans who disagree.
From Harrisburg
the lunacy does not end.
Yeah, McKenna, those protests were held across many cities in the Susquehanna Valley, including right here in Ephrata, right along Main Street, all with the goal of making their voices heard. From Harrisburg to Lebanon and Chambersburg, people once again took to the streets, angry over recent funding cuts by the federal government. Demonstrators spent the afternoon advocating for the protection of programs such as Social Security, health care, veteran benefits, and public education, all with the goal to get elected officials to listen to them. While some of today's events were in partnership with the national hands-off movement, others had a more local focus. Protesters in Lebanon say their event was aimed at calling on Representative Dan Muser, who serves PA's 9th district, to stand up to President Donald Trump. Meantime, in Harrisburg, hundreds of people filled the steps of the Capitol. John Flood, who helped organize this protest, says he wants those who agree with him to know they're not alone.
This is not just a bunch of crazy people. We have Republicans and Democrats. We have people who are concerned about our democracy, and we want them to join us because we need to send a message to Washington and to the state capitals here that we will not tolerate the erosion of our democratic principles.
Protesters also mentioned that these events are aimed to bring awareness to what's happening across our country. In Ephrata, Taylor Hess, WGAL News 8.
Okay. Now, in case you didn't know, there's a lot of news organizations that are represented in the room. Tim Pool was in the press room today. I should point out it's the second time being added to the Pool list. I don't know if it's because of his last name or what. But yeah, when are you going to put us in the pool? What's up with that? Now Tim's sitting in the cherished seat in the press room. Yes, I'm jealous. Okay, I am. I'm not going to hide it. Yes, I want to be there. I want to ask the question. Okay? And I'm going to get to Tim's question in a minute, but come on. Anomaly pointing out disgraceful White House attire. Munchkin Fetterman, he calls him. And I have to admit that when I was a bit shocked when I saw, I knew that Tim was in the press room today. I get the emails from the White House, and I saw that Tim Cass was on the list in the pool as the new media. So naturally, I tune into the press conference, and I see them pan to Tim. And I was shocked. He's wearing his beanie and sweat shirt and t-shirt. Come on, Tim. Now, the press secretary did say that they're doing a podcast later and they're doing it in the executive office building, and so maybe Tim didn't want to change. But Tim, seriously? I mean, do you own anything else? I mean, yeah, I've got suits. I know you can do better, Tim. I know you got a look, you've got a brand, you want to stay on brand, but we are talking about the White House here. And you're not Vladimir Zelensky. So let's hear a breakdown.
On that very
Many of these organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what is being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on, following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you can comment on that unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Now, that's a good question. I give him credit, suit or not. Because the mainstream media, the lamestream media, the people sitting in that bank of chairs right there with the assigned seating, they don't want us there. They don't like us there. They give me the side eye when I'm there. Even when I'm just like, hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Hello. Very cordial. No. They don't want us there. Tim recognizes that. I'm sure he got a lot of side eye wearing what he was wearing, for sure. And anyway, great question. Let's see how the press secretary responds. I'm going to scroll it back just a hair so we can get back to that point.
Disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you can comment on that unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure. Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room, which is one of the reasons we have you in here, and there's many new faces in this room in comparison to the previous administrations. We want to welcome all viewpoints into this room. We welcome unbiased journalists who really care about the truth and the facts and the accuracy, and you rightfully pointed out the Maryland man story, which I, from this podium, when The Atlantic published it, on that very first day, I came to this podium and said, this is wrong. The press in this room have this story wrong, and we have seen more and more evidence come to the table that we have had all along. We were always right. The president was always on the right side of this issue to deport this illegal criminal from our community. And it is despicable to see the media continue to refer to this individual as someone who is just a peaceful man living his life in Maryland. This was and always has been an illegal criminal, an MS-13 gang member, and a designated foreign terrorist. And the administration maintains our position to deport these individuals from our communities. So thank you for being here, Tim. It's great to see you. Thank you.
Many of these organizations.
Great to see you, Tim, but next time, do us all a favor. At least maybe put on a suit, all right? Don't Zelensky the White House. Okay, continuing with our thread here. And we're going to keep going. What have we got here? Okay, continuing. Remember when the Chicago BLM organizer Ariel Atkins said looting is justified and part of reparations? Well, she claimed calling someone a criminal for stealing is racist. Check this out.
13 police officers injured. Chicago, for example, widespread looting, rioting caused at least $60 million in property damage in one night. 13 police officers injured, according to a report. The Chicago Black Lives Matter organizer, Ariel Atkins, said that this was justified, that looting is just part of reparation. Told WBEZ she 100% supports the violent looters and that even calling someone a criminal is, quote, based on racism. So, saying it's criminal to break windows out of a store, go in, take what you want, and go home is racist. Stealing something that you don't own out of a store is racist. Police Superintendent David Brown told reporters, quote, this was not an organized protest, rather an incident of pure criminality. This was an act of violence against our police officers and our city. I know David Brown. By the way, he's black. Society has laws, of course. Any society does.
Thank you, Dr. Phil, for your insight. But we're going to keep going. Here's Hollywood legend Morgan Freeman, a huge fan of Elon Musk, praising Musk's incredibly forward-thinking ideas, revolutionary achievements. The least don't want you to know that respected Americans support Musk's vision. This is on CNBC.
Where we can go.
Is it true that on shoots you're sometimes checking your phone to see what the stock market's doing?
Yeah.
Any stocks in particular?
I own Tesla.
Tesla?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Elon Musk's. And I think he's got the most incredibly forward-thinking ideas about where we can go technologically. He's, you know, what he's done is nobody else has ever done. He's landed a rocket ship, so it's reusable. You know what a feat that is? Now we're taking off. We're going to be going to Mars, delivering stuff to people who are going to be settling there, just like they settled the Old West.
Wow, he's
and bringing those ships back and landing them and reloading them.
Is it true that...
No, that was a clip from 2016. Yeah. My, how the sentiment has changed. Here's Elon Musk exposing the truth about our government. Yeah. The minute he starts exposing the truth is the minute everyone turns on him. Just like when Donald Trump came down that escalator.
Is not break. As bad as Twitter was, the federal government is much worse. You know, in the case of Twitter, it wasn't a profitable company. It was like basically a break-even company. But at least it was break-even, and it had to pass an audit. The federal government is not break-even. It's literally losing $2 trillion a year, and it does not pass its audits. It fails its own audits. So, like, you know, there's a case where, like, I think Senator Collins was telling me about how she gave the Navy $12 billion for more submarines, got no extra submarines, and then held a hearing to say where'd the $12 billion go, and they were like, we don't know. That was it. I mean, basically, stuff is so crazy. It's like only the federal government could get away with this level of waste. It's mostly waste. It's mostly not fraud. It's mostly waste. It's mostly just ridiculous things happening. I mean, it's like Milton Friedman said, like, money is most poorly spent when you're spending someone else's money on people you don't know. How much are you going to care?
Right.
And that's the federal government.
Now, continuing on, a member of Congress, Elon Musk moved a website button. We told you about this the other day. In 70 minutes, when the government said it would take 100 days.
Login button. To the monologue. This week, Doge perfectly exposed government bureaucracy in a nutshell. While working on the IRS website, Doge noticed the site's login button wasn't in the top right, like most websites. It's a small thing, but Doge noted it was weirdly placed in the middle of the page. So Doge wanted to move it to the right spot. But an IRS engineer said the soonest they could do that was July 21st, over 100 days from now. So what did Doge do? They stepped in and fixed it in 70 minutes. Here's how it looks now. See, there it is. They moved it from the middle to the top. It's a small thing, yeah, but the government would have needed 100 days to do it.
That is the federal government for you. And Peter Thiel revealing that Elon Musk was left of center for 20 years until the Democrats imposed an intellectual straitjacket where you're not allowed to have ideas. Yeah, they censor you, silence you, delete you, cancel you. The left demands 100% conformity and punishes those who are free thinkers. Peter Thiel.
I've known Elon since 2000, 24, almost 25 years. And, you know, he was never doctrinaire, but for the first 20 years, you know, he was left of center. You know, Tesla was a clean energy electric vehicle company. The Republicans were these people who didn't believe in climate change. And so it was sort of naturally much more comfortable in sort of deep blue democratic California. And then at some point, Elon shifted, and it's overdetermined why he shifted or why you shifted or some of these other people did.
I didn't shift, Peter. Everyone else just moved. But everyone feels that way, of course.
But I know these things are overdetermined, but I keep thinking part of it is just this sort of straitjacket is not what you all signed up for. This intellectual straitjacket where you're not allowed to have ideas. Even if you agree with 80%, it's never enough. You have to be 100%. I've known...
Yeah, don't deviate, or you will be excommunicated. Elon warning that America is the central column that holds up all of Western civilization. If America falls, the roof is coming down.
Well, there's a lot of things, I suppose, that I worry about, but and some of these things will seem esoteric to people. You know, the birth rate is very low in almost every country. And it's something, unless that changes, civilization will disappear. America had the lowest birth rate, I believe, ever. That was last year. Places like Korea, the birth rate is 1/3 replacement rate. So that means in 3 generations, Korea will be 3 or 4% of its current size. And nothing seems to be turning that around. Humanity is dying. And people, it's just not something we evolved to react to. And I worry generally about the strength of America. You know, America is the central column that holds up all of Western civilization. So if you've got the temple of Western civilization, America is the central column. If that column fails, it's all over. You can't run off to New Zealand or some other place. It's over. So either we strengthen that column and make sure America is strong and will be strong for a long time, or that roof's coming down.
We need to keep that roof up, man, because Patriots, it's more than just about the Teslas. It's about saving America from the mob mentality that seeks to destroy anyone who dares to help President Trump and drain the swamp. While Musk and Doge are fighting government waste, the radical left is attacking citizens in the streets. Make sure you follow the Next News Network for the truth they don't want you to hear. There I am at the White House going back this week. So the evidence is undeniable. A coordinated campaign targeting Tesla owners continuing to spread across America, not because of environmental concerns, but because Elon Musk dared to challenge the establishment narrative and support government efficiency. These aren't random acts. They're politically motivated intimidation tactics against everyday Americans. Most of them leftists, greenies, who simply purchased an electric vehicle. So here's the question that should concern every American, regardless of what car you drive or if you wear a suit in the White House press room. If they're willing to vandalize your property simply because of who manufactured it, what else are they willing to do to enforce their political orthodoxy? And how far will the mob mentality go? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And you can support independent media that brings you these hidden stories by heading to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and pick up some Next News gear today, because only patriots can wear it proudly. All right, patriots, $15? Man, I must be doing a horrible job tonight. Okay, I'll try to do better. You know, try to do better for you guys. I'm not just going to the swamp for my own benefit. I'm going there for you. I'm going there for you guys. All right. We got some more news to get to. Super chats or not, I work regardless, because there is a war happening in the Democrat Party. That's right. Something extraordinary is happening inside the Democrat Party, something so explosive that MSNBC, CNN, and the New York Times are desperately trying to minimize its significance. A young progressive firebrand has just declared war on his own party's establishment, and the resulting chaos is exposing deep fractures that could reshape American politics. Tonight, we've obtained the internal communications and exclusive polling data that reveal just how dire the situation has become for Democrats. Party elders in panic mode as approval ratings hit historic lows and millions in campaign funds are being diverted to an unprecedented purpose. The political earthquake that is coming will change everything, and you are going to hear it here first. While Democrats fight amongst themselves, Americans are fighting another battle against toxic products flooding their homes. Just like the political establishment needs cleaning out, your home deserves the same care. The everyday products you're using right now, cleaning supplies, kitchen essentials, personal care items, where are they coming from? Foreign factories with questionable ingredients and safety concerns are infiltrating American households just as radical elements infiltrate political parties. But there is a solution. American-made, non-toxic alternatives from one of the most trusted manufacturers in the country. So protect your family from harmful chemicals while supporting American jobs. You can register today for the Zoom call to get all the inside scoop on this at patriotswitchnn.com. But you need to register now before the spaces fill up. You'll find the link to do so in the description. So the Democrats' civil war has officially erupted. Young radicals attacking their own party, shifting it even further to the left. What's going to happen? They're only going to alienate more of their base. Well, we welcome them with open arms, but don't bring your woke shit to us. All right? Don't California my Texas, as they say. Oh, David Hogg made a political career after that horrible day Still grandstanding on that moment. But let's find out what he's doing now. The DNC Vice Chair, David Hogg, has decided to spend $20 million to primary ineffective Democrat incumbents. Yes, the establishment is in panic mode, as James Carville calls him a contemptible little twerk. The left is eating itself alive.
Now, the rift in the Democratic Party is growing deeper. DNC Vice Chair David Hogg announced last week that his We Deserve PAC would put $20 million toward primary challenges against safe seat Democrats who he says are ineffective.
Now, the goal is to get younger faces in those seats, with a number of young progressive candidates already launching their primary bids against long-serving incumbent House Democrats. Now, that has angered a large portion of the party. Here's what Democratic strategist James Carville had to say about it.
AOC, in her kind, and this guy, David Hogg, they want to run against other Democrats. Democrats are not the problem right now. Why don't somebody sue David Hogg? He's an officer of the Democratic National Committee. He is the vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and he's running against other Democrats. But I might give the DNC $10 and sue him. He's a contemptible little twerp.
Hogg had the chance to respond on Monday. Here's what he had to say.
Try it. That is my reaction. I would also say James Carville has not won an election since before I was born. I think it's time to have new leaders in our party that are ready to meet this moment, because a lot of the people that are most critical of this plan are the same ones that had $2 billion to win an election and still lost.
What do you make of this, Bofta?
Well, I think James Carville, the fact that he even says, AOC and her kind, he's just really out of touch. He's out of touch with the people. He's in touch with the party. And by that, I mean those who've, long-serving incumbent Democrats. I think he's in touch with the party. He's really out of touch with the people. I'm sorry, but Bernie Sanders and Senator Sanders, I should say, and AOC have gone all over the country and drawn huge crowds. And we've talked about this. That doesn't have...
Yeah, they're trying to create the official Communist Party of the United States. But Timu Charlie Kirk is continuing, right? James Carville exposing the truth further. He said, I thought our job was to beat Republicans. How quaint. Meanwhile, young radicals like Timu Charlie Kirk want to destroy their own party. Let's continue.
With him, in part, I think the Democratic Party is excessively deferential to seniority and age. To a fault, that there are way too many people in charge of the Democratic Party who have simply waited their turn. I've said that a lot. So I can't entirely dismiss what Hogg is saying and doing here. I just also don't think he really has a strategy or a plan or necessarily knows what motivates Democratic rank and file, or what will make the Democratic Party, this is the important thing, more palatable to independent-minded voters, right, in the swing states. What brings back the working class, blue-collar voter who was supportive of Bernie, maybe, and then actually ended up voting Trump and has now kind of become a safe Republican? What brings those people in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin back into the fold? And then...
Yeah, I don't think the answer is tampons in boys' bathrooms. The mainstream media has been the marketing arm for the Democrat Party, a 24/7 infomercial for years. Americans have been red-pilled and can see them together now. Their propaganda pipeline is finally broken. Let's check in with the roundtable at the 5.
Nick says he's using money to go after Republicans. He should be using the money to go after Republicans and not Democrats. And as an officer of the DNC, he's violating his fiduciary responsibility by primarying Dems.
I don't care about either of them. They're both contemptible. One's a nitwit and the other one's a nitwit. Let him have it. I think they're dating. Watching Clyburn blame the media is like blaming the bank when you overdraw. Maybe they can't cover their debts. They covered you for Biden's condition. They covered you for Kamala's competence. They covered for you when you were saying Trump was Hitler. You know what? The media is dying. The bank is dying. They can't afford to cover your debts. His complaint is unfair because it's not like the media doesn't want to get in bed with him. They do want to help. They really do. It's just that now we all get to watch, right? We've all been red-pilled. We can see them together now. We know the patterns. We know when they're lying. So it's going to be hard for the appeal of this party to return because the mainstream media is no longer, it has its grip on the public. When it would push a hoax, it would go through the same, I don't know, typical channels. Start low, go high, blah, blah, blah. But that pipeline has been crushed. A hoax gets smothered, before it can get out of the crib. I don't think
One Democrat commentator exposing the truth that David Hogg taking donor money meant to beat Republicans is despicable because liberal donors are being scammed.
We get to it, and if I can understand why the Democrats would be mad. Like, imagine asking a Democratic donor who's worked hard all week, is not a big mega donor, okay? And you say, we get $250 from you this month because we really want to, we got to do a lot of things for the Democrats. We've got to do a lot of things for Democrats so we can fight the Republicans. And you find out that it's actually going to a primary situation that is going to make it harder for the Democrats to beat the Republicans in the general. How dare you take their money? I think that's despicable.
The fact that the Democrats, Jessica, are not able to accept responsibility and basically say, we don't have a message, we don't have a leader. I mean, doesn't it mean that they're going to stay in the tank until they kind of address the elephant in the room?
Listen, it hasn't been that long, and this has been a very fast-moving first 3 months of the Trump administration.
But this is the lowest approval in 2 decades.
It's terrible. I'm very upset by it, but it's going to take time to figure this out. And everyone, because of the velocity of which Trump administration is doing things, is a bit on the back foot. And they're trying to do their best. They go and they have these town halls. They're listening to their constituents. They're going to Republican districts where their members won't show up to listen to the people there. And folks are talking about what Doge is doing. I mean, Chuck Grassley had a town hall where his constituents in red Iowa are talking about Abrego Garcia. Those things are happening. To Dana's point about the David Hogg versus older generation, I completely agree. And, he gave $100,000 to the DCCC as some sort of gift in this, which I just find to be even more offensive. Mm-hmm. And he talks about, and progressives, young progressives, I would say, talk all the time, well, we need this fight, and these are the issues that matter. And then they rattle off issues that don't register at all in elections. They say climate change, gun violence, LGBTQ plus rights, things that I desperately care about. But people vote on the economy or they vote on immigration. And if you want to help us, go talk to Angie Craig or Pat Ryan or some of these moderates that win in tough districts and find what the special sauce is for that. And then bring that to incumbents or people who have a chance at actually beating a Republican and help them steer towards the middle where the majority of Americans actually are electorally.
Jesse, wrap it up.
Well, I'm with Greg. Watching these two fights like watching women's boxing. They're both 130 pounds. The fighting's bad, and I don't care who wins. Clyburn, he himself is a problem. He's the one that gave us Joe Biden. He blackmailed Biden to have a DEI VP. Yep. He was part of that coup and then pushed Kamala instead of an open primary, and then they got wiped out. And he's blaming the media. Permission to make an analogy.
Please do.
This is like the Democrats are a chef who cooked disgusting food. The media is like the food critic that keeps on lying to everybody about how good the food is. Now, they don't have any more customers, and the critic has no more readers, and the chef, instead of changing his recipe, wants food critics fired and rehired with better food critics. It has nothing to do with the food critics. You cook disgusting dishes. You need to stop using influencers and celebrity appearances and flashy music. Just cook better food that everybody likes. Jessica, there's a saying, it's called all.
Democrats' approval hit rock bottom, 25%, their worst polling in 2 decades. What does Congressman Clyburn do? Blames the media instead of their failed policies.
Their worst. The Democrats are getting close to hitting rock bottom. Only 25% of Democrats say they are confident in their party's leaders in Congress, making it their worst polling result in over 2 decades. And now Congressman James Clyburn is blaming the media for their dumpster fire numbers.
I think the message that comes from the Democratic Party is a good message. The problem we've got, is that we have to depend upon the media to deliver it.
That comes as James Carville clashes with DNC Vice Chair David Hogg over Hogg's $20 million campaign to boot ineffective incumbents.
He's a contemptible little twerp.
Carville believes in a politics of being timid, of hiding. I believe in fighting.
It's the most insane thing. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, antiquated. I'm not part of the hip generation. I'm not very au courant. But I actually thought our job was to beat Republicans. How quaint of me.
James Carville has not won an election since before I was born. I think it's time to have new leaders in our party.
Okay, since we ended on that, I'll start with that. Okay, so Carville and Hogg, I love this disagreement. Carville goes after Greg, and he says he's using money to go after Republicans. He should be using money to go after Republicans and not Democrats. And as an officer of the DNC, he's violating his fiduciary responsibility by primarying Dems.
I don't care about either of them. They're both contemptible. One's a nitwit, and the other one's a nitwit. Let him have it. I think they're dating. You know, watching Clyburn blame the media is like blaming the bank when you overdraw. You know, maybe they can't cover their debts. You know, they covered you for Biden's condition. They covered you for Kamala's competence. They covered for you when you were saying Trump was Hitler. You know what? The media's dying. The bank is dying. They can't afford to cover your debts. His complaint is unfair because it's not like the media doesn't want to get in bed with him. They do want to help. They really do. It's just that now we all get to watch, right? We've all been red-pilled. We can see them together now. We know the patterns. We know when they're lying. So it's going to be hard for the...
Activist David Hogg admits their problem is a major brand problem with the Democrat Party. They had $2 billion last election cycle and still lost. Here he goes inside Jen Psaki.
Right now, what we're looking at are it's not out with the old and in with the new. It is out with the ineffective and in with the effective. And part of what we're doing with this announcement is waiting to see who retires here and says, you know what, it is time. I'm not ready to meet this moment anymore. And I know for a lot of our members that they will decide that ultimately.
Okay, I know. I love about you that you never hold back and you say what you think. I'm wondering, because James Carville said this was a crazy idea or a bad idea.
Yeah.
Now,
he also predicted we would win the election in a landslide.
A lot of people predicted that. That what is true is a lot of people predicted that. Now, he is definitely not a young person. I don't think even he would say that. He did help a governor most people had not heard of in an unlikely path to the presidency. Totally. So I guess my question for you is why take the bait and attack him back? Why in this moment?
I think the fact of the matter is we say over and over again, we just need to listen to the experts over and over and over. And of course, experience matters, but experience is only as useful as it's actually working. We had $2 billion last election cycle, and we still lost. And I think part of the problem that we have here is a major brand problem at the Democratic Party. When people go into the ballot box, they're not just thinking, oh, you know, how am I thinking about my frontline member of Congress, for example? That's obviously important, and we need to support those members, and we plan to support some of them, obviously. What they're thinking about, though, is what do I think about the Democratic Party? And that is the product not just of one member of Congress, but all of our Democratic members of Congress and what they're doing and how they're fighting back. And the fact of the matter...
Okay, enough. I can't take any more of it. But we have this. An unexpected 25-year-old is pushing the party to the brink and igniting a civil war.
David Hogg. There's a civil war brewing among the Democratic Party, and it's been started by none other than activist and new vice chair of the DNC, David Hogg, the survivor of the infamous and tragic Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school massacre shooting. Hogg announced that he, through his outside PAC, would spend $20 million to campaign against older Democrats in favor of younger ones. At this rate, who knows how much longer his party has left. They have eaten themselves alive and have allowed the fringe to become the mainstream. They are literally destroying themselves and the states and the cities that they run. Now, an inexperienced 25-year-old is pushing the party to the brink and igniting a civil war. Hogg is in the position he is today because of his extreme left-wing activism, which the mainstream sect of the party supported. But that's what you get when you don't push back against the furthest fringes of your party. I'm Armstrong Williams. There's a civil war brewing among the Democratic Party.
Armstrong Williams,
and it's been started
baby.
By...
So the facts speak for themselves. Democrat Party approvals hit a 20-year low. Just 25% young progressives are planning to primary their own incumbents, and longtime party strategists like James Carville are publicly melting down, calling their colleagues contemptible on national television. It's not just infighting. It's a full-scale civil war that could reshape the political landscape for decades, and I'm here for it. So the critical question every American should be asking while Democrats are busy destroying each other from within, who's looking out for your family's security and prosperity? With their focus entirely on internal power struggles, what dangers are they ignoring? Let us know your thoughts in the comments and stand strong amid the political chaos by supporting the Next News Network at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Limited edition gear selling fast, Patriots, so get yours today. All right. This guy's dressed better than Timmy Pool. Just saying. That's funny. That is funny. Okay, where are we at? Texas gal dropping a 20 spot. Super sticker, Sheba dog in the samurai armor holding a golden trophy. Thank you. Got my trophy today. Needed that trophy. Any Tim Pool style redo ideas? I don't know what that means. Redo what? Okay, where are we going from here? The Democrat civil war is continuing, but there is another element of drama happening right there in the swamp. And we're going to get into it because it is sabotage at the highest levels of government. A controversial report just emerged claiming that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared military information on a messaging app again. The mainstream media is running with the story, but critical questions remain unanswered. Sources inside the Pentagon suggest something more calculated might be at play. Tonight, we've obtained exclusive information about who might really be behind these allegations and why certain figures are determined to undermine Trump's defense reforms. What's the real motivation behind this perfectly timed leak? And why won't media outlets specify what exactly was classified? Who benefits most from Hegseth's potential removal? Well, the answer is expose a disturbing pattern of resistance to accountability that Americans deserve to understand. And right now, we're diving deep. In just as Defense Secretary Hegseth battles with blood pressure from deep state attacks, millions of Americans face their own daily struggle with hypertension. A shocking 2024 study reveals nearly half of all adults have high blood pressure, yet only 1 in 4 have it under control. Like Hegseth is fighting to reform the Pentagon, you can take control of your health with a groundbreaking triple action formula. This military-grade solution contains white mulberry leaf and cinnamon bark powder, natural ingredients that help regulate blood pressure while supporting balanced blood sugar. Fight back against the silent killer. Visit boostwithgary.com, linked below, for up to 40% off. Signalgate 2.0. That is what they are calling it. Yes, sir. They were Pentagon employees who leaked against their boss. That is what the press secretary has declared today. Listen.
News agents on Fox News that the entire Pentagon is working against Secretary Hegseth. But the people who were fired were Hegseth's own guys. So how do you square that, and what do you say to concerns that that's bad management?
They were Pentagon employees who leaked against their boss to news agencies in this room, and it's been clear since day one from this administration that we are not going to tolerate individuals who leak to the mainstream media, particularly when it comes to sensitive information. And the Secretary of Defense is doing a tremendous job, and he is bringing monumental change to the Pentagon. And there's a lot of people in this city who reject monumental change, and I think, frankly, that's why we've seen a smear campaign against the Secretary of Defense since the moment that President Trump announced his nomination before the United States Senate. Let me reiterate, the president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth in the change that he is bringing to the Pentagon, and the results that he's achieved thus far speak for themselves.
And now this is the report. Bombshell. Hegseth under fire for sharing sensitive military information on Signal app twice. Well, the deep state leaks to sabotage our president's agenda. The left's trying to weaponize this against the Pentagon reformer. The fake news will not tell you the real story, but we are about to expose it. Hegseth allegedly sent military attack plans to family members on Signal, including flight schedules for F-18s. Before the Yemen strikes, ABC claims this is the second Signal chat after the one where the Atlantic editor was accidentally added. So let me just ask this simple question here before we get into some of these clips we've got lined up for you. If he sent it to a family member, how the hell did the press find out? Did someone in his family notify the press? Or does somebody in his own ranks review his signal? Did it even happen? Let's hear how the media is framing this.
An anonymous smear.
President Trump says he is standing by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Sources tell ABC News that Hegseth sent military attack plans to his family on the messaging app Signal. ABC's Perry Russell has the details.
President Trump today says he has great confidence in Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. As sources tell ABC News, he sent military attack plans to his wife, brother, and personal attorney on the messaging app Signal. Sources say it included some of the same sensitive information mistakenly sent to a journalist in a different Signal chat, including flight schedules for F-18s, all before the attacks in Yemen last month.
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
Trump today dismissing the story.
Just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
Trump and Hegseth both at the annual White House Easter egg roll today. Hegseth not denying the story.
And anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter.
In the last few weeks, 3 of his senior advisors were escorted out of the Pentagon after a leak investigation started. The advisors deny they were leaking.
What a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out.
Sources tell ABC News this second Signal chat called Defense Team Huddle was created by Hegseth. His brother Phil is a senior advisor for the Department of Homeland Security, assigned to the Department of Defense. And his personal attorney, Tim Parlatore, is a Navy reservist assigned to Hegseth's office. It's not clear why either of them should have been told about the strikes before they happened. His wife, Jennifer, does not work for the government. Hegseth was already facing criticism for sharing attack plans in the Signal chat started by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, where the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic was accidentally added.
Have spoken to the president, and we are going to continue fighting on the same page all the way.
Perry Russell, ABC News, Washington.
Yeah, ABC News, Washington. Yeah. Knives are out for Hegseth. As you saw, President Trump standing strong with Hegseth calling it fake news from disgruntled employees because Trump knows the truth. He was put there to get a lot of bad people, and that's what he's doing. The swamp is fighting back, though. Here is
said to have
more mainstream news. Let's see how they're going to frame this.
Calling on Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to resign or be fired as new reports of Hegseth using the messaging app Signal to discuss details about an imminent attack on Houthis in Yemen with non-DoD staff. This time, he has said to have sent messages to his wife, among others. The White House says no classified information was shared. Today at the White House, Secretary Hegseth pushed back on those allegations as President Trump maintained his support.
Not going to work with me because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter.
He's doing a great job. It's just fake news. They just bring up stories. I guess it sounds like disgruntled employees. You know, he was put there to get rid of a lot of bad people, and that's what he's doing. So,
you know, they're at the Easter egg roll, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to start throwing these questions at him there? Unreal. Hegseth, of course, firing back. What a big surprise. A few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out. More Russia hoax. Let's hear if this is an extended piece.
Answers for a bunch of lies. What a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. This group, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know it, we know exactly what it is. What a big surprise that...
Yeah, that's what it is. The White House confirms there was Pentagon employees who leaked against their boss. Not going to tolerate individuals leaking. The corrupt media trying to spin it as classified information, but they refuse to tell you what exactly it was that was classified. Let's check in with Tim Pool in his natural habitat.
Strike. Not about texting the journalists. It's about sharing classified information again.
How do we know he shared classified information?
Because that's what the story says, that the Pentagon is not denying.
Classified? Explicitly said that
about
he shared classified information?
forthcoming strikes. That's, again, future strikes. And like I said, when I actually gave you the definition of classified, which we can go over again, classification, classified, according to the definition of classified information providing indication or advance warning that the U.S. or its allies are preparing an attack. Okay, you don't want to hear what I have to say, but here's what the lead story is of the New York. Here's what the lead story is of the New York Times. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared detailed information about forthcoming strikes in Yemen on March 15th in a private Signal group chat that includes not about texting the journalists. It's about sharing classified information again.
How do we know he shared classified information?
Because that's what the story says.
That's what the story says. Media insiders caught on tape admitting they would have exposed private sources, private information themselves when pressed what was classified. They have no answer.
I'm still in. I think is good about it is if that they now feel like they can talk about what they saw. I do think that if you were, I'm still in shock that if you guys were on this chat, you wouldn't have shared it.
Why would
I don't?
Wait, for real?
I didn't respond yet.
You have sources that you would expose?
Wait, is that guy wearing a suit? That guy's wearing a suit. Wait.
If you guys were on.
Wait. He's there. Well, you saw him. He was wearing a suit. In Tim's natural environment. Okay, you know I'm joking. Okay, let's go.
Respond. Yeah.
You have sources that you would expose? You would expose private sources, private information?
That wasn't a source relationship thing. That was a I am watching classified information. That is like almost like walking in on someone doing a crime.
Let me ask you.
If you walked on someone,
if
you walked in on someone committing a crime, how would you not cover that?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do you have the phone numbers of government officials?
I have sources.
Okay. If they accidentally texted you private information, you'd report that.
If you want to say their source, you would.
I would have to say, if it was an accident, I might reach out to them, but that was not what happened to them. That's not what happened.
What do you mean they accidentally?
Is she going to burn her sources? Hegseth tells it like it is. They've come after me from day one, just like President Trump.
And they've come after me from day one, just like they've come after President Trump. mean, I've gotten a fraction of what President Trump got in that first term. What he's endured is superhuman. It's not hard for me to do this job. I know exactly why I'm here. To bring warfighting and the warfighting ethos back to the Pentagon, to rip out the insidious ideologies and not compromise and not back down. To bring in new press voices into the Pentagon, which we've done, to reestablish standards and accountability, to not tolerate leakers, to 100% operational control of our border, to get rid of trans lunacy in the military. We haven't backed down. See, here's the thing. A lot of people come to Washington and they just play the game. And it's you punch their ticket and get along to go along. And, you know, start doing Meet the Press and going to the Council on Foreign Relations and spending time with all the new cocktail sipping crowd. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because President Trump asked me to bring warfighting back to the Pentagon every single day. Right. That is our focus. And if people don't like it, they can come after me. No worries.
And they are coming after you. But when you connect the dots and dismiss the people who you've been leaving or leaking the classified, why would it surprise anyone if they're the same people leaking? This is how the deep state operates, folks.
Go to DOJ. When you dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information, and again, the investigation is ongoing and that will take time, and when the evidence is produced, it will go to DOJ, why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker. Often a leaker. And so we looked for leakers because we take it very seriously. And we will do the investigation. Right. And if those people are exonerated, fantastic. We don't think, based on what we understand, that it's going to be a good day for a number of those individuals because of what was found in the investigation. So if they want to keep leaking and pushing and peddling things to try to sabotage the president's agenda, that's unfortunate. But
yeah, he's destroying the narrative, though. I said repeatedly, no one's texting war plans.
Old stuff, they kick it back up. I said repeatedly, no one's texting war plans. You know why I said that? Because I'm in the bowels of the Pentagon every single day. Just 10 minutes ago, I was looking at actual war plans of things that were ongoing or pending things to happen. Because that's on a regular basis on classified systems. That's my job for the war fighters, for the President of the United States. I look at war plans every single day. What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning. At the beginning, it was left-wing reporters from The Atlantic who got a hold of it and then wanted to create a problem for the president. This is what it's all about, trying to get at President Trump and his agenda. Now, here at the Defense Department, because, Brian, I want this to be very clear. We take the classification of information very important. It's very significant to us that we safeguard it. And so when we had leaks, which we have had here, we did a serious leak investigation. And through that leak investigation, unfortunately, we found some folks that we believe were not holding to the protocols that we hold dear here at the Defense Department. Through that investigation, they have been moved on, and that investigation continues. As a result of that, everything we do here is above board, trying to make sure that we safeguard information. In this point, those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda. And what we're...
So don't be fooled by the coordinated attacks on Hegseth. It's about stopping Trump's agenda to reform our military, secure our border, and put America first. The same forces behind the Russia hoax are now targeting the Defense Department. Follow the Next News Network on X for the truth they don't want you to hear. So there you have it. What started as alleged classified leaks has been exposed as a coordinated smear campaign against a reformer who's cleaning house at the Pentagon. The same deep state operatives who leaked against their boss are now crying foul when they face consequences. And President Trump sees through the charade, standing firmly with Secretary Hegseth as he brings accountability back to our Defense Department. So ask yourself this crucial question. If the deep state will go this far to protect their fiefdoms at the Pentagon, what other government agencies are they manipulating to maintain their own power? And where else is the swamp fighting back against reform? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Join the movement for truth and accountability. Visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com today and check out our exclusive patriotic merchandise. Every purchase helps us continue our mission. Okay, I think we had some more super chats. Cool. I like it. Gary, a watchman says, $5. You deliver it. Hook Gary up if you can tonight or hit the like. That works. Marshmallow. Thank you, Gary. Real news matters. $10. Wow. Our boy dropping 10 as well. Come on, folks. Show Gary the love. Chuck a super chat at Gary. Happy and Taco Tuesday, G. Is it Tuesday? Is it Tuesday already? Yes, it's Tuesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and we have the Drake Hotel live stream after the Raw feed tomorrow night. Yes, it is Taco Tuesday. Dark Skull Driver, $10. Thanks, Gary. Pete Hegseth is still good in my opinion. Parmis Dax, $5. This one is for Gary, Hegseth, Miller, and Elon Musk. Right on. Cool. Tom B420 dropping $10. $10 from Tom B420. Right on. And there is the picture of his red Camaro. Love it. Love it. All right. The trade war is happening, and the White House is illuminated tonight. The beautiful sight live from Washington, D.C., a live look at the location where Donald Trump is making America great again. You can see Secret Service stationed outside on the north entrance of the White House. Yes, I have entered through those doors, and I have been to the East Room, and it is an amazing place to be. Looking forward to going back. We'll be back next week, flying in on Sunday. Okay, where we go from here? Oh, yes, the trade war. It continues, and Donald Trump continues to triumph. The mainstream media calls it a dangerous escalation. Wall Street warns of market volatility. But what if President Trump's trade strategy is actually working exactly as planned? Tonight, we've gained access to insider reports about China's surprising reaction to America's new economic stance. Multiple countries are now approaching the Trump administration with deals that would have been unthinkable just months ago. We'll reveal exclusive details about which nations are lining up to negotiate and why Beijing's influence is rapidly diminishing on the world stage. Plus, we have obtained fascinating insights into Trump's negotiating tactics that are leaving global competitors stunned. The economic chess match of the century is unfolding before our eyes, and tonight, you get to witness it. While President Trump battles rising trade tensions, American families are fighting their own war against skyrocketing energy bills. Just as global markets feel the pressure of economic realignment, your household budget is being strangled by the power companies' relentless rate hikes. Studies show energy costs have surged an astonishing 60% in just 2 years, but there is a solution. It's this revolutionary device uses sophisticated technology to stabilize electrical currents and reduce waste, helping slash your monthly bills, just as Trump's trade policies are cutting America's dependency on foreign markets. Fight back against corporate greed by visiting don'twastepower.com. and get 65% off before supplies run out. You'll find it linked in the description. So we have the trade war update. Trump is winning the economic showdown with China while the fake news pushes doom and gloom. Here we go. The foreign trade barriers are falling quickly. China has been ripping off American business for decades. Shark Tank investor reveals the shocking truth. Chinese factories are stealing American designs, selling knockoffs at 40% discount because they never have to recoup the R&D costs. Let's check in with Megan Kelly and Mr. Wonderful.
Off the ground. There was a gal who was on Shark Tank not long ago, and you did not invest, but she had an idea for a silicone placemat for like a baby's crib. I mean, not crib, high chair. And she wound up getting this project off the ground, and she has her product made in China. And the New York Times' daily podcast called The Daily featured her last Monday. We pulled a SOT. She's trying to be they're using her as their real life witness on how bad these Chinese tariffs are hurting Americans. Here it is. Take a listen.
I shudder to ask this. What happens to the tariff cost you would bear once the tariffs go from 104 to 145%?
$229,000.
Just the tariff you would pay on $158,000 worth of product.
Mm-hmm. And we would have to come up with that in the 30 to 40 days it takes for the product to get to the U.S.
Wow.
And I can't get any.
So can you get it manufactured here? You got to go to China? You got to get the Chinese to do it for you? Maybe she's going to answer that question.
More loans. I'm fully leveraged. I have my house on the line already. I can't get more loans.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't come up with that kind of money.
That's an astonishing number.
I'm not okay. I'm scared for my friends. I'm scared for myself. Like, they don't understand. This is certain death for us.
That's Beth Beneke, founder and CEO of Busy Baby. So what do you make of that?
I'll tell you what I make of it. Make it in America. Okay? Problem solved. I bet you Mr. Wonderful has the same to say.
I'm familiar with the deal. I'm familiar with the situation. I probably had that podcast sent to me 2,000 times already. I remember investors on Shark Tank, but we also have stories of hundreds of companies that have been on Shark Tank that also manufactured their product in China. As soon as it gets to 5 million in sales domestically, the same factories that are making it there knock it off and sell it at a 40% discount because they never have to recoup the R&D that the company put into making the product in the first place. And they get wiped out a different way. They get wiped out by China, not even, they just totally ignore the IP, and they can't go back and litigate. The crazy thing, Megan, is Chinese companies use the American legal system to sue American companies after they've knocked them off. Why is that okay? Then they
So in other words, you are over here as an American company. You come up with a design. You do all this R&D to make sure it's a safe product. It's an effective product, and then you bring it to market here and in China. And in China, here you'd be protected by certain copyright laws or whatever you're using to protect your IP. But over there, you don't have that protection, so they just knock it off and they start selling it for cheap. That's what you're saying, that there's no respect for your IP.
Well, it's worse. Maybe when they're young, they're taught this is completely fair to do this. You steal, you cheat. It's part of the psyche of how you build your economy. It doesn't matter that it wasn't your idea or that you spent millions of dollars in R&D to create it. They simply don't give a shit.
Well, the Trump trade team is moving at lightning speed. 18 proposals on paper from countries eager to deal with America. 34 countries this week alone. Let's check with the press secretary today.
That countries have. Spoke to our entire trade team this morning. There is a lot of progress being made. We now have 18 proposals on paper that have been brought to the trade team. Again, these are proposals on paper that countries have proposed to the Trump administration and to our government. You have Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick, Ambassador Greer, NEC Director Hassett, and Peter Navarro, the entire trade team, meeting with 34 countries this week alone. We are moving at Trump speed to ensure these deals are made on behalf of the American worker and the American people. And just yesterday, it seemed to get a little bit lost in the news, and I think it's a disservice to the American public that it did. The vice president announced announced terms of reference for a trade deal with India. That is a big deal. We know when we look at the numbers, the monetary trade barriers and the non-monetary trade barriers from India, they have been ripping off the United States and American workers for a very long time. So the fact that the Vice President with Prime Minister Modi on that trip in India announced these terms of reference, which is essentially a framework to move the ball forward to sign a good trade deal between our two nations, is great progress, and it speaks to the work ethic and the real labor that's being put into this effort by the president's trade team. Spoke to
a major breakthrough in India. Vice President Vance and Prime Minister Modi announced plans to more than double bilateral trade to $500 billion.
When President Trump and Prime Minister Modi announced in February that our countries aim to more than double our bilateral trade to $500 billion by the end of the decade, I know that both of them meant it. And I'm encouraged by everything our nations are doing to get us there. As many of you are aware, both of our governments are hard at work on a trade agreement built on shared priorities, like creating new jobs, building durable supply chains, and achieving prosperity for our workers. In our meeting yesterday, Prime Minister Modi and I made very good progress on all of those points. And we are especially excited to formally announce that America and India have officially finalized the terms of reference for the trade negotiation. I think this is a vital step. Thank you.
The markets might be turbulent now, but that's because the establishment cannot handle real change. The American economy is multiple times larger than China.
To bake it in. What do you think we're seeing here? I mean, there has been this volatility back and forth, and depending on who you talk to, markets seem to bake it in. They're waiting for something.
Well, there isn't much that's happening right now, Brett, that's going to give investors a peaceful, easy feeling about the state of the economy and therefore the state of the markets, which have been turbulent but mostly down now since the announcement of the tariffs, a month ago. And now the president is just calling for the departure of Fed Chairman Powell, who, whatever you think of him and whether you think interest rates should be lower, as the president certainly does, or whether you don't, that's another element of instability in the current financial outlook. And instability is something that markets do not like, and economies really don't either, because when people are uncertain about what the future lies, they're hesitant to invest and to hire and to do the things you need to have an economy go and grow, which is obviously what the president is seeking. So he may win in the end. But trade wars don't have a lot of history of working out very well for any party who's involved in it. So I think that's where the worry lies, now compounded by a fight with the Fed.
Now, U.S. Trade Representative announcing framework for negotiations with India and Japan are next because the world is lining up to deal with the dealmaker in chief.
Yeah, just before we started this segment, in the commercial break, there was a statement put out by the U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer saying that they have essentially a framework of a trade negotiation process, laying the roadmap for negotiations with India, saying that this is now starting in earnest, a roadmap for those negotiations. We've heard that about Japan. We've heard other countries. Do you think one of those deals, should they get there, change the dynamic on the market and where we stand?
Well, I think if they get, one or two of those deals with countries like Japan and India, which are of some size and importance, I think might calm the markets. The concern, of course, is you've got China reaching out to trading partners, many of them the same as ours, and saying,
Brett, come on. It's China.
Don't you be making any deals that are against our interests with the United States. And the United States, in the meantime, of course, is saying, no, you want to work with us. We're the big enchilada here, and you can't afford to be without us. Now, there are a lot of people who think that the U.S. can win that kind of competition with China, but it is another element of uncertainty in the economic outlook. And, today, for example, Brett, China has cut Boeing off, and Boeing had outstanding orders for airplanes to be manufactured and shipped to China. Those things are, at least for the moment, at least, are stopped in their tracks. There's a cost to that. That will cut. If that stands, that will hurt jobs and growth in the United States. So these are the kinds of situations that people worry about when they see a trade war underway.
Yeah.
Even the Security and Exchange Commission is enforcing the law. Chinese companies don't comply with American accounting standards will be delisted. Ho! $800 billion in market cap.
They can go, just to give you a sense of how crazy it's gotten, there's a law on the books that says for Chinese companies, when they want to raise capital in America, they can go to the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, form a company, issue shares to Americans that aren't real shares. They're shadow shares. And what's incredible about this, they don't even comply with GAAP. And so what this law said was, it was Rick Scott who originally got the momentum, the senator out of Florida, on this deal, and said, look, we'll give them 3 years to comply. That's a long time. And then they can stay listed on the exchange. And while Gensler was the head of the SEC, he didn't enforce this law. But a new sheriff's in town named Paul Atkins just got confirmed last week. And he has made a public statement saying, okay, I've had enough of this too. Every Chinese company that is listed right now that is not complying with GAAP, I'm going to delist them. That could be as much as $800 billion of market cap.
Wow.
That should happen, because why is it fair for an American company to have to pay for compliance and be compliant with all the regulators here in America to stay listed, which costs millions of dollars in some case, and they're competing with a Chinese company right next door to them that doesn't have to? Why is that okay? Under what scenario is that fair? And I think that's the kind of question that people like me are raising their hand and saying, enough. Let's fix this problem once and for all. And yes, there's going to be stories of that poor woman's situation, but these tariffs are not going to be forever. This is a game of chicken, two economies colliding with each other, one cheating and stealing and one not. At some point, you got to resolve the issue. And I think at some time in the near future, Xi's going to call Trump and say, okay, where do you want to meet? You want to go to Geneva?
Is he? Because whenever you hear somebody talk about this, who knows China, who knows Xi, knows Chinese culture, they say he'll never call, never. Like he cannot lose face. I mean, any communist country leader would be this way, and that includes him. That they just can't. He can't lose face. That's the last thing he'll do. And now Trump has to find a way of going to him. But Trump's kind of like that himself as well.
Well, I can assure you within the Communist Party of China, there is a bunch of narrative going on about how long do they want to do this, because the only reason you stay in power in a communist society as a supreme leader is everybody's fed.
Economic experts confirm that Trump will win. There's no way China can retaliate. Let's check it out.
Joining me now to talk about this is former economic advisor under Donald Trump, Stephen Moore. Steve, look, if Trump secures a new fair deal with China, does this turn into a major political win? And that's a big if.
Not just a political win, but it would be a huge economic and financial win for the country as well. Trump will win. Yeah. There's no way that China can retaliate in a way that doesn't do much more damage to their own economy than to ours. Look, if you look at the financial markets, the net worth of American companies is multiple times higher than all the Chinese companies. So we have incredible leverage. They can't possibly get out of their economic, they're in a bit of a mini depression themselves. Nobody in the media seems to be following that, but their stock market has crashed. Their economy is way down even further than ours has. So I think when you talk about pain threshold, there's no way that a tit-for-tat strategy works for China. What has to happen next, if Trump is going to win, and he will win, is to get these side deals cut as quickly as possible with Europe, with Canada, with Japan, with Korea, and you basically make China the man outside that's still standing at the table. I think that strategy works. Right. I think China is going to lose if they try to retaliate. It just doesn't work for them.
All right, next one for you. Let's look the other way. The White House working with Europe to reach trade deals. Trump recently spoke to the UK Prime Minister on the phone. Vice President Vance went to Rome to meet with Italy's Prime Minister. This seems a lot more positive, would you agree?
I hope so, and I think it is. I mean, every indication out of the White House is that the phones are ringing off the hook. The switchboards are lit up with these foreign leaders calling, and especially the Europeans. I mean, this is a gut check moment for the Europeans. They're going to have to make a decision about whether they're going to decide with the United States or they're going to side with China. And this talk that, well, gee, maybe we'll cut a separate deal with China, I think is outrageous. What kind of an ally would do that? So it is an important moment. And by the way, Europe's economy isn't doing very well either. So they need to have access to America's incredible, the biggest consumer market in the world.
Oh, yeah. We have the upper hand.
We do have the upper hand, but the hard truth is none of markets big enough to replace the American consumer. China cannot survive without access. Here's more from Mr. Wonderful and Megyn Kelly.
Do I print money so that I can pay these workers and then have hyperinflation where a loaf of bread, goes up 1,000%, the Venezuelan model? Or do I work something out with Trump so all this stuff we've made can get back into the market, including that woman's rubber bib? I mean, somebody's got to buy that. There's not enough people around the world to buy that, except you got to have the 39% of the consumers are sitting in America. That's who's going to sell the product. That's why I would think at some point, because I'm a pragmatic guy. Again, I look at the policy. I know there's a lot of politics here, but if I'm Xi, I'm thinking, okay, how do I save face on this deal? What do I do here to get things going again so the stuff on the boats gets to America with no tariffs on it? All the Europeans have the guys in England right now today are saying, okay, let's drop our tariffs on agriculture so we can start shipping grain in both directions or whatever they want out of ag. German car parts, we talked about that. All of these guys are working this out. Xi has to do that too. Now, is it going to take 2 weeks? Is it going to take 2 months? I don't know, but I guarantee you there's no scenario where Xi can outlast the American consumer, because that's really what you're talking about, Megyn. At the end of the day, can he really cut himself off from the largest consumer market on earth? No. And so I'm on the camp that says, okay, let's see how long this game of chicken lasts. But would I like to resolve this thing once and for all? Let me speak on behalf of millions of investors and entrepreneurs in America. Yes, I want to do business in China. I'm willing to compete with Chinese on a level playing field, and I want to open the markets up. Yes. I have nothing against the Chinese people. I don't like their government. I don't like their policy. And if you're not going to change the government, then let's cut a deal to have a reciprocal tariffs or no tariffs, but definitely access to the markets, and definitely got to play by the rules.
So the evidence is clear. President Trump's trade strategy is yielding results that few experts predicted. His team is working at Trump speed, meeting with 34 countries in a single week. Major breakthroughs with India have been announced, and China, long accustomed to dictating terms, now finds itself with diminishing leverage on the global market. So here's the million-dollar question every American should consider. If President Trump can secure this much economic leverage in just 3 months, what will America's position in the global economy look like 4 years from now after a strategic negotiation? And what other unfair trade arrangements will be rectified? Share your predictions in the comments below. And support the network that brings you the real economic news. Visit shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Pick up some Next News gear. Let people know where you stand on America's economic future. Linked below. Yeah, baby. What's up? Okay. Super chats? Yes? No? Maybe so? Villain. Following the show, Discord, live, voice chat. Come on in, hang out for a few, hit the like, share, and subscribe button, become a member. See you there. Yeah, it's pretty cool what you guys do in that Discord after hours. When I dropped in the other night, it was great to see everybody putting names and faces with the screen names that I see in this chat room every night. Super cool. It was an honor to hang out with you guys for a minute. I don't always get the opportunity because, you know what, right after the show, I've got to jump right into the post-production work to get the segments chopped and scheduled with our thumbnail and title team, the great Grand Old Memes. Oh, did I just say who? Did I just... Oh, well, now you know. Yeah, if you don't know who Grand Old Memes is, probably one of the greatest meme smiths on the internet right now. It's been retweeted by Trump and Elon, and man, the stuff he puts out is funny. And I'm proud to work with him. He's watching right now, actually. So say hello to Grand Old Memes in the chat room, because he deserves to be uplifted. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Acknowledged. That's the word. Acknowledged. Acknowledge the meme smith. Grand Old Memes. That's right. Check him out on X. I think we can actually go to his X account. Should we do that real quick? Let me just pull it up. Grand Old Memes. There it is. The Right to Bear Memes. Here is his X account. 654,000 followers. The Right to Bear Memes. Can I show this? Maybe I can show you this one here. This is better. The Right to Bear Memes. GrandOldMemes.com. I've never been to the website. Let's see what's going on there. Impeach Biden. Shop now. He's got a merch shop. Drop us your email. Look at some of the memes he's made. Avatar. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Oh my, hang on. What else have we got? Oh, goodness. Oh, no. Oh, that's so funny, dude. Dude. Oh, wow. Let's see, this is his latest meme from 2 hours ago. Leave alone the multi-trillion-dollar a year food industry. I don't know that one. 3 hours ago. Oh, 2 rallies at Texas A&M. I guess no one showed up. Oh, wow. All right. GOM. There's a shout out for you, buddy. Love you, man. Okay, we got more news. We got to go. We got to get going. We got to keep going. He's waiting for me. Because the free ride for the student loans are over. For nearly 5 years, a certain group of Americans has enjoyed a complete pause on their financial obligations, while everyone else kept paying their bills. Now, a major announcement from the Trump administration is about to change everything, and tonight we're going to reveal the details about who's actually affected by the upcoming student loan collection resumption, and why the mainstream media portrayal is desperately misleading, and what options are available to borrowers. So, the left is portraying this as cruel punishment, but internal documents that we've obtained tell a very different story. What is the real truth behind May 5th, the deadline? And why are Democrat politicians in such a panic? Don't click away. While the student loan free ride is ending, Americans still need to stay warm without breaking the bank. Just as defaulted borrowers must face financial reality, many households are confronting the harsh reality of unpredictable weather without efficient heating solutions. Those lingering cold snaps can drive up energy costs unexpectedly. But there is a smarter way to stay comfortable. This is it. It's the powerful mini heater delivering instant targeted warmth wherever you need it without the waste of central heating. It's the perfect solution for financial responsibility, just like requiring loan repayment is responsible fiscal policy. Take control of your comfort and your budget at staywarmnow.com with up to 60% off. You can take advantage by clicking the link below this video. Tap more, you'll find it. So the bombshell alert, the Biden student loan scam is over. Starting May 5th, the Trump administration will begin collecting on defaulted loans that freeloaders have been ignoring for years. But the left is continuing to spread misinformation and panic. Now, let's be clear. It's not about student loans. It's about the 5.3 million borrowers who were already in default before COVID. These are people who hadn't made payments for 9 months before the pandemic even started. Responsible borrowers have nothing to fear. What is this young lady saying?
Since the Biden era, starting on May 5th, if you are in default on your student loan, Linda McMahon is going to garnish your wages. Let's talk about it because a lot of that's headline fear porn and not actually what's happening. On May 5th, you're going to get an email. If you are in default, not if you're in forbearance, not if you've just been making payments, but if you are in default, meaning you haven't made a payment since the Biden era, okay, 200 and some days, you're going to get an email. And in that email, it's going to give you a couple different options to start repaying back on your federal student loans. The email will explicitly say if you do not make any steps to start your repayment program, okay, it will start garnishing your wages later this summer. Everyone's freaking out and everyone's hating Trump. But listen, that same email reportedly, supposedly, is also going to have some links that you can do to apply for income-driven repayment plan or sign up for loan rehabilitation, which gives you 5 years to pay like a ramp-up period. That will get you out of default and into a normal payment situation that you can afford. This is going to be much like what you had before Trump put all the student loan payments on hold because of COVID, and before Joe Biden just kept extending that hold and promising forgiveness. I'm sorry, but the forgiveness thing was never going to happen. The government wants its money. That doesn't mean that you're going to have to pay out, the full payment right away, or that there's going to be different options for you. They're going to want you to contact the default resolution group, and they're going to work with you to get your loans out of default into a regular plan, and then start making payments as you can, and you'll probably fall under the income-driven repayment plan like you had before. And I want to preface this by saying that I'm fully aware that the whole student loan thing is a fucking scam. My husband has student loans. We're probably going to be paying on them forever. He got screwed. He was 19. He was financially illiterate. They promised him that he would get a $100,000 paying job right out of college. He wanted to play basketball and he wanted to get out of the situation that he was in. He didn't come from a family that knew much about finances, and so he just signed it and away he went. I'm thankful for it because if he hadn't, we wouldn't have met. We are very, very, very aware with our children now as to what this is going to look like and how they're going to be able to go to school if they choose to do so. There will be no loans. You will have to work and save and maybe get your gen eds at a local college and then pick something or in a trade. I mean, we're not doing loans with our kids. And this sucks, but we've been muddling with this for 10 years and they switch lenders every 2 years. The whole thing is a fucking mess. The hope is that they get an income-driven repayment plan that stays with the federal government and doesn't get sold off to different lenders and different places. Our loans were in 3 different places at one time. I was making 3 different payments to 3 different loan agencies. I had no idea what our interest rates were, and then they would change every time. And I don't expect the taxpayers, the American taxpayer, to make up for that or to pay for that. I don't. We'll pay it. We'll just continue to pay it. It's not their fault, and we took responsibility for it. And it's time you do too. I know it sucks, and I know it's going to be hard, but that debt's not just going to go away. It's not just going to go away. Advice to you is to call your lender and see what's coming down the pipe and get a plan together. Worst case scenario, you'll have to pay the full amount. Look at your budget, figure it all out. Where can you skimp? Where can you save? What can you move around? And then go from there. And this wasn't going to be for an ever thing. And I'm sorry if you believed that it was. But it does sound like there's going to be other avenues. So if you have student loans or you have a kid that has student loans and they're freaking the fuck out, send them this video. Starting on May 5th.
The left is freaking out, claiming the economy is falling apart, so it's the wrong time to collect. But they conveniently forget these payments were first paused by President Trump in 2020 during the actual crisis, not Biden's crisis.
Line is breaking. Y'all, they're about to start garnishing people's wages whose student loans are in default. No, I'm not fucking kidding. I'm sorry. I know that there is a literal fucking avalanche of news happening at every moment and that every goddamn headline is a breaking news headline, but this is really serious and people need to know because it could ruin people's lives. And of course, the Trump administration doesn't give a fuck. However, okay, long story short, a lot of people received a pause on their student loans needing to be repaid back in 2020 during the pandemic, okay? Well, the Trump administration has decided that even though the economy is falling apart at the seams and Lord even knows what the fuck the unemployment numbers are, right now is apparently the right time to start garnishing people's wages to retrieve this money. This process is going to start May 5th, And they're saying that they're going to give people whose wages are going to be garnished a 30-day warning. And I don't know if that means that like letters are going out May 5th. Are they sending electronic notifications? I'm really not sure. They're going to be using the same department that they use in order to send taxes and collect taxes through direct deposit. It's called the Treasury Department Offset Program. There are currently 5.3 million borrowers that are in default right now, right this second, in the United States, and they expect that number to be 10 million within the next few.
The Treasury Department does report 5.3 million borrowers currently in default, but warns this could nearly double to 10 in months. It's an unsustainable burden on American taxpayers. Let's check in on this local report.
The COVID pandemic.
Here's a heads up for millions of student loan borrowers. You could now be forced to start paying back your student loans that are in default.
The payments were first paused during President Trump's first term in 2020 in response to the COVID pandemic.
Our David Greenberg is following this story for us this morning. He joins us now. And David, what are we talking here? How many borrowers does the Treasury Department believe are in default?
Yeah, well, Dave, Danita, good morning. According to the Treasury Department, there are some 5.3 million borrowers in default on their federal student loans. But the department says that number could nearly double to 10 million in just a few months. Borrowers will receive notices in the next couple weeks with more information on repayment. The department said in a statement that starting May 5th, it'll begin its involuntary collection through the Treasury's offset program, which withholds payments from the government. That includes tax refunds, federal salaries, and other benefits from people with past due debts to the government. Now, you might remember the U.S. Supreme Court ruled President Joe Biden's 2023 plan to relieve student debt as unconstitutional, arguing it did not fall under congressional approval.
Here's a heads up for millions.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon tells it like it is. American taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies. Check it out.
Irresponsible student. Education Secretary Linda McMahon said, quote, American taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies. The Biden administration misled borrowers. The executive branch does not have the constitutional authority to wipe debt away, nor do the loan balances simply disappear. This summer, the Department of Treasury will move to begin the process of administrative wage garnishment. That process basically allows an employer to withhold a percentage of an employee's income to pay a delinquent debt. Danita?
The Trump administration putting an end to Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. The federal government controls nearly $1.6 trillion in student loans. Let's check in with the press secretary.
Loan bailout attempt every day. In other news, the Trump administration has announced we will put an end to Joe Biden's illegal student loan bailout attempts. No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans. The student loan portfolio controlled by the federal government is nearly $1.6 trillion. But fewer than 4 out of 10 borrowers are in repayment. This is unsustainable, unfair, and a huge liability for American taxpayers. Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections. The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers' tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages. America is $36 trillion in debt. We must get our fiscal house in order and restore common sense to our country. If you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very simple.
The same standard applies to Harvard and other universities facing funding cuts. If you want federal dollars, obey federal law. More from the press secretary today.
Not obeying. The president has made it quite clear that it's Harvard who has put themselves in the position to lose their own funding by not obeying federal law. And we expect all colleges and universities who are receiving taxpayer funds to abide by federal law. It's quite simple. And the president made it clear he's not going to tolerate violations of federal law. He's not going to tolerate illegal harassment and violence towards Jewish American students or students of any faith on our campuses across the country. And so we will be responding to the lawsuit in court. And again, it's quite simple. If you want federal dollars, obey federal law.
This ends nearly a 5-year pause. It began under Trump during COVID, but was exploited by Biden, who kept extending it while promising illegal loan forgiveness that court struck down as unconstitutional. The free ride is over.
Have to restart. The U.S. Education Department will begin involuntary collection next month on federal student loans that are in default. This will impact millions of borrowers who have not made payments on their federal student loans for more than 9 months. Borrowers will have to restart those payments on May 5th or risk wage garnishment from their paychecks. This marks the end to a long period of leniency that began during the COVID-19 pandemic when President Donald Trump paused federal student loan payments and interest accrual. President Joe Biden extended the pause until it expired in October of last year. And after courts stopped Biden's attempts at broad student loan forgiveness, borrowers' obligations are coming due. Education Secretary Linda McMahon argues the debt collection will help American taxpayers who do not have student loans, but advocates for student borrowers call the move cruel and warn that it will hurt working families. There's also lots of confusion around how to pay back student loans due to the many policy changes between the Biden and Trump administration.
How do you pay back a student loan? A lot of confusion on how you pay back a student loan. I thought you just signed a check, sent it to the Department of Education, right? Isn't that how it works? How confusing can it be? But of course, this is the Associated Press reporting that. Of course, the left is spreading fear. 40% of seniors in default. This will hurt your little old lady grandma. More fear porn from the left.
More specific. Donald Trump wants to garnish your wages in 2 weeks on May 5th if you are behind on your student loan payments. More specifically, if you are 270 days behind, they will begin garnishing your wages, taking your Social Security, and taking money out of your tax return without your permission as soon as May 5th. There are 5 million Americans who this would apply to. And there are 9 million more who are behind but do not yet meet that 270-day threshold, but could soon. Now, don't mind the Bible quotes about debt behind me. They don't matter here. What matters here is that you understand that this absolutely does not have to happen. They are choosing to do this out of cruelty. They know that the people who are not paying their loans do not have the ability to do so. They do not care if you get kicked out on the street. 40% of seniors are in default, meaning this is going to affect your little old lady, grandma, grandpa down the street more than anybody else. Spread the word far and fast.
Okay. So the message is simple, America. It's not a socialist country where you can take out loans and expect others to pay them back. The Trump administration is restoring fiscal responsibility and common sense after years of Biden's reckless promises. It's about fairness for the millions who did pay their loans and the taxpayers who never went to college. Follow Next News Network for more truth they don't want you to hear. So now you know the full story. It's not about punishing recent graduates or struggling borrowers. It's about 5.3 million people who were already in default before COVID began. People who hadn't made payments for 9 months before any pandemic measures were implemented. Secretary McMahon said it plainly. Taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies. I would say irresponsible student loan decisions. So the question every responsible American should be asking is this: why should those who didn't attend college or who diligently paid off their loans be forced to subsidize those who simply chose not to pay? Is that the message we want to send about personal responsibility in America? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Be a proud supporter of fiscal responsibility by spending some of your money at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Make sure to browse our collection of Next News Network gear and let everyone know where you get your real news. All right, folks, let's go. Tony, dropping $5. Jobs need to come back. It's been downhill since the 1970s. Jeff, what's up? Dropping $5. One of my favorite streams. We are the future, shining bright. Keep up the great work. I send these when I can, brother. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Everyone here at Next News Network appreciates it. And Deplorable Diva Haynes, dropping $2, says, I miss yelling, we're number one everywhere. Joy. We're number one. We're number one. Okay, where are we going from here? Well, we're going to check in on the latest trending news. What is trending at the moment? Let's find out. You never really know. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered Game Reborn. European premiere, Marvel's Thunderbolts. Pritchard clinches the 6th Man of the Year. Don't care. Jill Biden is trending. Prince Louis is trending. Gulf of Mexico is trending. I wonder why. Shall we? Oh, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene pops up first. Dustin Williams, the iconic Pensacola Beach sign has officially been changed from Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. Nice. Nice. Love it. I don't know. I like the Gulf of America more than Gulf of Mexico. Way more inclusive and encompasses our continent. Yeah. Why is the Gulf of America trending? Not Gulf of Mexico trending and not Gulf of America? One exists, the other doesn't. Okay. Remember when Hillary Clinton laughed at President Trump because he announced Gulf of Mexico would be called Gulf of America? No, I don't remember that.
America, and we will restore. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name.
Yeah, love it. So that's trending, apparently. What about the news? Let's what's trending in the news right now. Pam Bondi's trending. PPP is trending. Student loans, JP Morgan, Rhinos, DeMS-13, We the People, Malaysia, Patel, Cash, Bitfinex, Powell. Which one should we go to, guys? Pam Bondi? Yeah? 78,000 posts. That's a pretty solid trend. Oh, she updated her X profile. What does it say? What? Fox News contributor and political analyst, part-time attorney general? Okay, that's a joke. That's a joke. Rape proposed, community notes. Pam Bondi did not change her X bio. People are posting satire. Epstein's client list sitting on Pam's X. Victims waiting for justice. Bondi can't do this job. Trump needs to replace Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi action figure. Oh, my goodness. Dear Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, when will the arrests and prosecutions begin? Yes, we are waiting. Shout out to Pam Bondi and Cash Patel for failing America. The clients are doing more each passing day. Wow, the memes are on fire here. Holy cow. Hegseth, RFK Jr., Rubio, and others joined Pam Bondi to announce a Christian task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias. I'm in tears. Christ is king. I like it. I like it. Pam Bondi set to review 25 years of mortgage fraud by Letitia James. Oh boy, is that going to happen for real? Let's. I know we covered it here, but now here's Pam Bondi talking about it.
Going back decades, really. James tried to prosecute the now President Trump in his second term. I just want to read a couple things. Criminal referral, then a response from James's office here in New York. James, for both properties listed above, this deals with real estate now, going back decades, really, appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms, all right? her office responded by saying the AG James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers. Specialist administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. The issue here is what property she owned and whether or not she owned it, whether or not she was married, and whether or not her father was involved in all this. Without going into the weeds of the details, this stems from a case in 1983 and the year 2000. That's a minimum of 25 years. Someone had to do some digging to find this. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Bill, the most I know about the case I just learned from you. I saw it on breaking news this morning. This case was sent to us from Bill Pulte. We have not seen it. I inquired right before I walked out here. No one in my office has read it yet. We haven't looked at it. Of course, we'll be reviewing it. You just told me more than I've heard about it so far.
Hey, we aim to please with some breaking news of our own. Indeed. All right. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
James tried to prosecute.
Interesting indeed. Senator Ron Johnson reveals feds are destroying Epstein files, 9/11 files, COVID records, and more. Well, lovely. 1 hour ago, this was posted. Trump was asked about the status of the Epstein files, said he will be speaking with Pam Bondi. Everything will be released in sequence. He assured the public information is coming and nothing will be held back. Just revealed over time, Judicial Watch has filed a lawsuit against the DOJ for refusing to respond to 4 FOIA requests related to Epstein, demanding full transparency. Let's listen to what the president said.
People were...
Mr. President, you said, when can we expect the Epstein documents to be released? The rest of them.
Which documents?
The Epstein files.
I don't know. I'll speak to the Attorney General about that. I really don't know. I know that we've done the RFK, the Kennedy, Martin Luther King is out there very shortly, so we'll find out. But we've really announced we're doing them in full transparency. You know, when we did JFK, people were saying, "Oh, maybe it wasn't all; it was all." And
Mr. President, you said.
So we're going to have to wait and see how this all plays out. So, ladies and gentlemen, what a show we've had. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on what we have uncovered together on the raw feed. Now, we've seen President Trump's second-term tsunami washing over Washington, border crossings down 99.99%, major investments flowing into American manufacturing, the deep state scrambling as their comfortable arrangements are disturbed. This is what real leadership looks like. We pull back the curtain on the so-called Maryland Man narrative, revealing what the mainstream media refuses to show you. The MS-13 connections, the history of criminal activity, and the shameless political theater of Democrats flying to El Salvador on your dime for poolside photo ops. We also expose the disturbing pattern of politically motivated attacks against Tesla owners, innocent Americans, leftists even, targeted simply because Elon Musk dared to challenge the establishment and support government efficiency. When they claim to care about climate change while vandalizing electric vehicles, their true motivations become crystal clear. And the Democrat civil war continues to escalate, with young progressive David Hogg declaring war on his own party's establishment. With approval ratings at a 20-year low of just 25%, the left is eating itself alive while America watches in disbelief. I'm kind of cheering it, actually. And we revealed how the deep state is fighting back against Secretary Hegseth's Pentagon reforms through coordinated leaks and media manipulation. The same forces that pushed the Russia hoax are now targeting our Defense Department. But President Trump isn't backing down. And the president's trade strategy yielding remarkable results that few experts predicted. Now, his team's working at unprecedented speed, meeting with dozens of countries while China panics about losing access to American markets. This is what American economic leverage looks like. And finally, we learned the truth about the student loan collection resumption. It's not about punishing recent graduates, but about ending a free ride for long-term defaulters who haven't made a payment since before COVID even began. Now, patriots, none of this information would reach you without your support. The mainstream media actively working to suppress these stories. Big tech wants to silence voices like ours, and that's why we need your help to continue bringing you the truth. So consider making a donation using the links in the description. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps us fight back against censorship. So visit our merch shop also, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Show your support with exclusive Next News gear, and tell a friend about the broadcast. Person-to-person communication. It's how we bypass the algorithms and grow our movement. Thank you to everyone who sent in Super Chats and Rumble Rants tonight. $101.99, and one new member. Your engagement makes this show what it is. A true two-way conversation about the news that matters. This is Gary Franchi for the Next News Network. Thank you for joining us on the Raw feed. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay free. And remember, the show's going to be early tomorrow because we've got a double header. The live Raw feed will be earlier in the day, and then we have the live stream from the Drake Hotel. It will be groundbreaking. You need to tune in. So buckle up for tomorrow. It's going to be big. We'll see you then.